10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Aloha Pumeha Nakako. The July 22nd Neighborhood Board number 34 regular meeting is called to order. Velina and welcome to our Makakilo-Kapolei-Honokai Hale Community Forum. My name is Anthony Makana Paris and I serve as your chair pro tem. For those on your way, today we are in a special room 312 upstairs at Kapolei Hale. Tonight is our annual organizing meeting and we will be holding elections for board officers and naming people to committees. We are holding a hybrid meeting and the community members are online via WebEx and in person at Kapalama Hale. For order and decorum, if you wish to speak, please raise your virtual hand if you're online or your actual hand in person, waiting for the presiding officer to recognize you before speaking. And please introduce yourself and only address your comments to the chair. Our neighborhood board assistant is Melissa Uribio, and she is now permanent. Everybody give her a round of applause. Speakers have 3 minutes to comment on any item. Those giving reports this evening have up to 10 minutes, and presentations are acknowledged as 10 minutes for the Neighborhood Board Commission and 20 minutes for the LNG presentation this evening. The presentation materials and the resolutions we'll be discussing tonight are available in the board packet, which is on the Neighborhood Board's Google Drive, which can be found on top of the agenda for the link. Please remember to silence all of your electronic devices and keep yourself muted if you're on WebEx and not currently speaking. This is our community forum, so please engage in the spirit of aloha. Feel free to debate agenda items vigorously. Treat one another with respect, especially when you're advocating for your issue. And let's honor each other by keeping to the allotted times for speaking and collectively finish our forum in a timely manner. At this time, are there any questions on protocols before we begin? Seeing none in person or online, the chair will now ask the neighborhood board assistant to do the roll call.
Member Bosler, thank you. Member Dudley, thank you. Member England, thank you. Member Ferreira, not here at the moment. Member Hale, thank you. Member Lidstone, thank you. Member Maderos, thank you. Member Ta'ala, not here at the moment. Chair Pro Tem Paris. Chair, you have 7 members present, quorum established.
Mahalo. Okay. First off tonight, we welcome up Honolulu Fire Department to provide their report. Please come up to the microphone. Let's give a round welcome to our newest face in the room. Aloha. Aloha.
Rotate. So I'm here to present the statistics for the month of June. I'm going to go over the statistics first, and then I'll get into a safety tip and previously asked questions. So incident statistics for June 2026, there were 4 structure fires, 3 brush fires, 9 nuisance fires, 0 cooking fires, and 30 activated alarms. As far as medicals, there was 166 medical alarms, 0 motor vehicle collisions with pedestrians, 3 MVCs or motor vehicle collisions or crashes, no mountain rescues, no ocean rescues, and 1 hazardous materials incident. Nuisance fires, of course, include rubbish fires outside of a structure or vehicle. The fire safety tip of the month revolves around hiking safety. Popular summer activities often include hiking our beautiful island trails. Here are some helpful tips to ensure you enjoy your adventure safely. Plan ahead. Choose a trail that is within your skill and stamina level. Visit www.hawaiitrails.org for more information about official trails. Check the weather. Remember to factor the rain, wind, and swell forecast. Stay on the trail. Never leave the trail or endanger yourself for a photo. Bring a buddy. Ensure someone knows your plans. And watch your time. Ensure you can return home before it gets too dark. There were several questions that we wanted to touch upon from last month's neighborhood board. The question was regarding who monitors or inspects junkyards and how often. Junkyards have to meet with other agency requirements beyond HFD's jurisdiction. Other agencies may include the city's Department of Environmental Services and the State Department of Health. Wildland prevention and preparedness. Lessons learned from recent major wildfires such as Lahaina is that wildfire preparedness is a shared responsibility. The first 5 feet around a home is the most critical area to keep vegetation clear, clear of vegetation and other combustible materials. If there are concerns regarding vacant properties, please contact the Fire Prevention Bureau Codes Enforcement Section at 808-723-7161. In partnership with the Hawaii Wildlife Management Organization, the Honolulu Fire Department supports community efforts to join the Hawaii Firewise program, coordinate home assessments, and provide educational resources like the Ready, Set, Go Wildland Fire Action Guide. For more information, you can find that online at hwmo.org.
Mahalo, Captain, for the report. Are there any follow-up questions from the board? Going to Dr. Keone Dudley first, and then Member Farah England.
Hello. Okay. I was surprised that you said that 5 feet around every house is good. Is that really enough? Is that right?
Feel safer.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
In your report, you said 30 activated alarms. What was the 30 again included?
30 activated alarms with no fire. So those are just like false activations. Like false, yeah. Sometimes like severe like water or like malfunctioning activated alarm. The wiring gets old or something like that.
Mahalo nui loa for the report. Now let's go. Any questions, comments, or concerns from the community at large for Honolulu Fire Department? Auntie, go right ahead. Yeah, so everybody can hear.
Mr. Dudley, I think what you were talking about is in PCA where we have in the gulch and stuff like that, and that is 35 feet. And around the homes is like, you got to remember, we have 3,682 homes, and we have all types of homes. So the 5 feet is correct what you're saying, but he's talking about in the areas where they have back to stop the, the gulch and stuff, where they have other areas beyond it or on the edge of the mountain.
Auntie, could you kindly introduce yourself for those that may not know?
Jackie Zahn, Makakilo.
Mahalo. Any other questions, comments, or concerns for Honolulu Fire Department? Okay. Seeing none, we really appreciate your work, and we look forward to seeing you all next time. Okay, you guys have a great night. Okay, and while Honolulu Fire Department is making their way out, the chair does recognize now that there are like 7 open chairs. So those people that are standing up or in the hallways, please come inside and find a seat. And at this time, we'd like to welcome Honolulu Police Department.
Hi, good evening. Corporal Corey Makino, District 8 Community Policing Team. Online with me is also Sergeant Fumi Moroka. The statistics for the month of June. For the district's motor vehicle thefts, we had 24. In the Kapolei area, we had 6. Burglaries was 14 for the district. Kapolei had 4. Thefts was 106 for the districts, and in our area, Kapolei, we had 39. Unauthorized entry to motor vehicle, we had 15 in the district and 3 in Kapolei. Traffic citations, speeding was 139. Moving violations was 1,502. Parking violations was 639. And total citations issued was 2,805. Total calls for service for the district with 8,938. Total calls in Kapolei with 2,993. And to follow up on a question from last month regarding the SRO program at the Kapolei High School, just want to let you guys know that I guess it's really going really good right now. The SROs, they're connecting with the students. From what I hear, they're eating lunch. Also very active in extracurricular activities with the students and the school. The program is expanding, so Nanakuli is expected to start this coming school year, and the Kapolei SROs are actually assisting in the transition and the training in the new SROs. And other than that, any questions, comments, or concerns?
Board members, any questions, comments, or concerns for HPD? Let's go to board member Sheila Maderas.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for the update. Just a quick question. Considering that report that you just provided, it seems like there's a lot of activity going on in our area. In regards to your shortage in District 8 with HPD, is there an update to that? Like, are we getting more recruits in? What's the status on that?
Right now, that's the plan. I know the department in general, they're really shooting for recruitment for up the staffing. As far as staffing in our area, they're still trying to man as many officers as they can on patrol. But as far as the department wide, I know that's one of the upcoming missions, especially with the new chief coming in. That's one of his goals right now is to up recruitment and hopefully up staffing.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns from board? Any questions, comments, or concerns from the community at large? Come on down. Please line up so we can go through this as expeditiously as possible.
Judges of Kapolei, I just have a couple questions. When you guys, meaning HPD, is called to, I guess, a disturbance call, and it has to do with HOA and an individual, is that something that you guys handle? Is that a criminal matter, or does that become a civil matter?
We only step in if it does become criminal, or to prevent it from becoming criminal. Let's say if there's escalating into an argument where things may get violent, we may step in. Other than that, if it's civil, we gotta stay out of it. But again, anything criminal between that, yeah, we do that then turns to us and we do take action.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because an incident just occurred about a week ago that initially, I guess, they were trying to issue a trespass, which of course is criminal. Then to come to find out that it's the homeowners that would have to issue the trespass, which they didn't get. It became civil. And I guess what I'm trying to figure out is the protocols and procedures that then take place with HPD and the involved parties, because the rules were subjected, meaning there's an entire rule that they were supposed to follow as far as the HOA, but they prefaced only a portion of the rule. They didn't read the entire rule, therefore violating my partner's rights to exercise the entire rule. And that was just one thing. I know it's becomes technical. But I guess my second question would be, does HPD have a cybersecurity division that we could initially file a complaint with? because what has transpired is the village of Kapolei initiated an overall electronic ballot system. And the way they went about it was they hired a company from Canada, and they released all 4,000 plus homeowners' information via internationally without consent from not one single homeowner. So we want to just be able to see, do we escalate that in your guys' area, or would we then contact the Federal Bureau of Investigations to initiate a complaint? Would you happen to know?
I don't think I would have to look into that. I don't have the answer for you right now. Can probably reach out and see what is going on and then see what we can do, if it's whether it's us or if it would be civil or who is responsible to handle that. But yeah, we can definitely look into that to see what's going on.
Okay, perfect. And then my last question is, because there is a Hawaii revised statute 551E, which allows a durable power of attorney in the state of Hawaii, and somebody's trying to exercise that, is that something you guys would then, I guess, not enforce or enforce? Because that's basically what transpired at this one discussion, right? And because I believe it was April of 2014, Hawaii legislative went ahead and put that into effect, which was 551E, which is the durable power of attorney. So like if you guys are called to a call and somebody has that, how does HPD handle that situation, or is it just case by case?
It definitely would be case by case, but if they can prove with documentations, court orders, or any type of documentation showing power of attorney, then usually we go based upon that. But again, every case is, we judge it based on the circumstances, yeah, of what's going on, yeah.
Yes,
that
durable power of
answers your
attorney
question.
was presented, and it was actually notarized and all of that, so that was present. But I was just wondering, because in case future occurrences do happen, that we know what facilitates on behalf of HPD when they arrive to the scene. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, and if there's any concerns, I guess when a call does come in and you have further questions, you can also maybe request for a sergeant if maybe the officer's not clarifying the reasoning behind it, and maybe they can explain, or they may have better knowledge of what's going on and they can help you better, yeah.
The
If that
sergeant.
helps.
was-
Yes.
He's
So,
the one that
or-
actually
or-
took the
Or any
document.
supervisor, yeah, so, or any
Okay, perfect.
supervisor if you're not sure, yeah. Okay,
Perfect. Thank you so much.
all right, thank you.
Go ahead.
Jackie Zahn, Makakilo. What I was bringing up, but a positive for the police department, was when we were talking to the mayor last meeting, she brought up that the one that takes care of the problems, like that abandoned jet ski that was there for months and no one was able to take care of it. And I told them that the building and permitting is not the one that should be taking care of this. They're backlogged already. They got other responsibilities to try to do it. And the police department, I want to accommodate them. And I wrote a letter to Dr. Amy, and she has all the information to pass out to all the board members about my concerns and that. And I went to the police station. They gave me of all the names who assisted with that. And they knew it was a safety issue. That's why Corporal Cooper did her part. She contacted her husband, and the other people are listed, the lieutenants and everybody involved. They actually lifted the jet ski onto a truck and hauled it off to work together with abandoned vehicles to make sure the safety problem was there, because it didn't have any reflectors on it. People driving up Makakilo could have a real bad problem and hit it. So they got it actually done for me the next day at 9:30 in the morning. I got a call. And I wrote a letter. I went down to find out who was involved. And I feel that they should be recognized for all the names I gave you, for all the outstanding service that they give to keep Makakilo safe. And I think that sometimes we forget, there's such a small group of police people that they can't always do the jobs right away. but this really impressed me. I've been here for years and I never seen it act so fast as they did, and I really appreciate it. And I want to say thank you to Action Major Pereira for her quick response to the matter and responded to me, and you guys have a copy of all the names. So I appreciate if you could give some recognition and let them know how they help the community be safe. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll definitely pass on the message to the command.
Mahalo, and come on down.
Good evening, my name is Mike Reese from Kapolei. This actually wasn't in Kapolei, but in my home and nearby my job. But you guys academy where my home on Maple Street. I noticed after work nighttime and like about 8, 9 o'clock at night, there's cars on the academy driving like real fast without no lights or police cars, like riding cars. So I don't know if that's from you guys or it's the public. My guard shack is very close to the road too. Like wow. And I heard that there have been a lot of accidents over there, so I want to find out if that's like the academy or the safety issue. I can say. Can you go on? Thank you.
Sorry, it's regarding the vehicle without lights. Is that it? Sorry, I couldn't really hear. The hazardous vehicle. Is that what it is?
No, what I found out from people saying, those cars is coming from you guys' police academy training facility. And it's like they come out, it's like they have an emergency, but there's no emergency lights or like non-police cars or lighting on the top of the car either. So, like at times I kind of jumped like, oh, the heck.
Hmm. Okay, yeah, it may have been, I'm not too sure who it was or what unit. Not every unit, drives patrol cars. We do have our, crew officers and other units that, are, they too respond to cases as well. Not all of them are equipped with, lights and sirens. So I don't know if that was who that was or if it even came from the academy. Um, but yeah, if it's not one of our cars and you're concerned about a car driving recklessly too, you can all just call it in as a hazardous driver or vehicle, and then a dispatch will actually send officers to the area. If it's not one of us, then they can address the issue if it was like a hazardous driver in the area, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And another thing, Campbell Industrial going to work is very dangerous. And on his cars, they still speeding over 55. I mean, the speed
Mm.
limit over there 35, and it's like guys like feel like going like over 50, 60. And I'm like, oh, thank God I can make it safe to work.
Mm.
So I think you guys be good if you guys can go there early morning, dark time, and it's kind of high spots and catch them. Thank you
Okay,
for your
yeah.
service.
I can pass that on to the patrol and then they can start checking the area in the morning.
Okay, thank you for your service.
Mahalo. Any other questions, comments, or concerns for HPD from the community at large? Seeing none, now we're transitioning to the annual business of the board for organizing, with the first item up being election of officers to serve from July 2026 to June 30th, 2027. And I will now yield the gavel to the Vice Chair,
Larry
Michaela
Mayhall.
Renzo.
If you look up Larry Mayhall, it's going to be all stories about how Larry Mayhall was not the head.
Mahalo.
Mahalo. If you are not currently speaking online, please make sure that you're that you're on mute. because we can hear all your conversations. Okay, now the chair yields the gavel to the Vice Chair, Mikiela Lindstone.
Mahalo, Chair Paris. I'd like to open the election for Chair of the Board. Are there any nominations? Makana, second. Any other nominations? All right, all in favor of, nominations are, go ahead, Dr. Dudley.
I'd really like to have some questions before we have the vote.
Mahalo. Any discussion?
Good.
Nominations? Okay, are there any other nominations? All right, nominations are closed. I'm going to open it for discussion. Go ahead,
Okay.
Dr. Dudley.
Chair Paris, you know, I think we all think that you're doing a great job. But in this last year, there have been some major things that concern me. In the first place, I don't think we have any idea of your background at all. And I wonder if you could present to the board where you work, what you do, what your background is.
Chair Paris.
Mahalo for the question. Okay, so aloha pumeana kako. Ovao Anthony Makana-Paris. My name is Anthony Makana-Paris, and I'm currently a resident of Kapolei. Been here for about 8 years. Born and raised on the west side of Oahu. Grew up in Lualualei and Nanakuli. I am a golden sunshine. So I'm a product of public school and also a pua of Hawaii because I was fortunate enough to be able to ride the bus from Nanakuli to Kapalama Hale. I was like to Kapalama, the actual Hale on Kapalama in Kalihi Mauka for a number of years and graduated from high school there. I come from a farming and fishing family, and my family is Lawai'a, and we have fished on the shorelines of Oahu for generations, and my family has fished on the shorelines of Kauai before that, because my family is actually not originally from Oahu, but we migrated over. After a period of time in elementary school, my family, like many of ours, fell upon hard times. We were paycheck to paycheck family, and then one time when my father got hurt, the paycheck stopped coming in, and next thing you know, we were without a house. So I say that I was houseless for a period of time, but never homeless, because I know my home. My home is here. We just didn't have a hale. And in some perspective, it was like I was actually just camping for a long time on the beach. Like many families at that time, we used to do that, even though it wasn't permissible and we didn't have permits. I was privileged to be able to learn at Kamehameha schools, and I did fairly well. Was a volleyball player, canoe player, did track and field, high jump, and then eventually was pretty good at school. I was in choir. Andrea Tupola was not just my classmate, but my cousin, and we sang together. And after that, I had the privilege of going to my dream school, which was on the East Coast at MIT, which I got a bachelor's degree in environmental science and engineering. After that, I came home for a period of time and did good work here with the Chaminade University. I was a lecturer in mathematics and astronomy. I also lectured at LCC in similar fields, and I worked with the Upward Bound program, trying to educate our community members and our young ones for higher education. Teaching has been in my blood for a while. I've taught from K through college level, but most of the people involved in teaching will know that the people on the front line are under-resourced and underpaid and underappreciated. And they all recognize that I had a knack or skill with working through the pala and the policy stuff. So they asked me to get involved. Got involved with unions, got involved with churches, got involved with advocating at the legislature, at the county levels and the federal level, and end up working with the union movement and the construction industry for over 15 years with the Ironworker Stabilization Fund, and has done policy work from here all the way to DC, trying to make it better for how we develop. So definitely support development, because development includes local i'a and lo'i. That's development. It's value-based. The question is, how do we do it well? And how do we make it sustainable? And how do we make it so that it's not actually extracting from our community, but is pouring back into our community and making our lives better? And then after being in that arena for a while and being into one too many board meetings in which lawyers told us we couldn't do something for the community, and we asked questions why, and then they said because it's against the law, and we asked them why, and they said, well, do you have a law degree? And I was like, well, I don't. So then they're like, well, then you need to listen to us. So I ended up fixing that, and I'm also a proud graduate of UH Richardson School of Law. So now when they say they have a law degree, and I say, well, I have one too. So can you explain your legal reasoning about why we can't make it better for the community? Like, why? And my journey here, I do a lot of work in the community, and including I'm a sitting board member of Waianae Coast Comprehensive Health Center. I am the chair of the Prince Kuhia Hawaiian Civic Club Scholarship Fund, which gives out about $30,000 annually to preference to Native Hawaiians, those that do civic engagement from keiki to graduate level. And here's a shameless plug. So anyone looking to get resources, go to www.pkhcc.org and apply, because applications are open to the 29th of this month. So we give out $30,000 a year. And most of that resources comes from the calendar sales that we do, which is on the moon phases of the Native Hawaiian farming and fishing. And we annually sell out about 6,000 calendars across Hawaii and the continental United States. And now I have the privilege of serving on my A'eloa board because they wrangled me into doing work to make it better for our homeowner association. And I currently serve as the chair of the neighborhood board here, which I've had the privilege of walking with our community members through a very critical time in our history and development. We face issues from potholes to houseless members to major infrastructure decisions like LNG that's coming before us tonight. There is literally no other neighborhood board that deals with this level of engagement that I've seen across the island and across the state. We're operating like we're a city council for a municipality. And I am privileged and honored to sit amongst all of these amazing servant leaders on this table, and they all bring critical, amazing skills and ask great questions and help us to move forward in a thoughtful way, keeping focused those people that will come after us, because we're not just making it better for us, but for the next generation. So that's me in a nutshell, and mahalo nui for the opportunity to share.
Mahalo nui, Chair Paris. Any other discussion?
Yes, I have more questions, okay? Chair Paris, I agree that this board handles things that are just absolutely phenomenal. And no other board in the island handles our kind of thing. But I've been very disappointed this year with two of the ways that you have led the board. And one of those was with our, we were trying to bring together neighborhood boards to discuss the hurricane situation. And you killed that by getting the board to vote against it. The other is, as you know, I am very greatly concerned about the Amazon project, which is going to be 50 football fields of flooring. And in those 50 football fields of flooring, they say that they're hiring 500 people, or 1,000 people, 500 a shift. And when you take that, that's 10 people per football field. And the truth of the matter is they're bringing in thousands of robots. And and taking thousands of jobs. And you did not put me on the pig. And I'm concerned about all this. I'm concerned that things are changing with you, and I'm wondering why. And I must say that, you know, you don't say very much about the fact that the chat co-pilot says that you were for 14 years a research analyst for the Ironworkers Stabilization Fund. That's the only thing they're really saying, which would seem like that's your major occupation. I'd just like to know what position, could I please talk? I'd like to know what position the Ironworkers Stabilization Fund plays in what goes on here at the board. I think you're doing an admirable job, but I wonder if things are going to change, and if we're beginning to see that change because of the two things that I'm concerned about happen to me.
Mahalo, Dr. Dudley. And with all due respect, Chair, if we could, for the board members, if we could possibly keep our questions and our comments to about a minute. We have a full agenda. We have a full house. Mahalo, Chair Paris.
Mahalo for Chair, and mahalo Dr. Dudley for the question. Okay, so my history with the Ironworkers Stabilization Fund, I don't think that has ever been a secret. I've worked with them for 15 years. I'm no longer employed with the Stabilization Fund going on 4 years now. I primarily do consulting work because of okay, let's take a step back. Why? My life has changed, as Dr. Dudley has mentioned, and it's because I was a victim of long COVID. You guys may have remembered, I've come in here with mask and staying away 6 feet from people. It's because I'm still affected by long COVID. So during that period of time, 4 years ago, I prepared end of life things, set up my estate, didn't know if I would be around. And it came to a reckoning about what I want to do with the time that I have remaining. And the Ironworkers Stabilization Fund was amazing, awesome experience I was able to work with, but that wasn't my primary goal. My primary goal was to ho'olulahui and ho'okanaka, is to grow our beloved nation and to help our people. And I found that my gifts lie in policy. So how do I make my living now? It's like I am the executive director of Hale, which is a nonprofit 501c3 that focuses on reforestation efforts in West Oahu. Our primary project right now is at Nanakuli High and Intermediate School with Ho'opulupula Academy, which we are bringing in tons of resources in order to help young people learn about agri-tech and homesteading, from traditional farming to high-tech, like vertical tower farming. Like that is what I'm doing there right now, because that was my onehana, the lands, the sands of my birth. So we're pouring resources back in there. But if you also remember when the DLNR reforestation or forester came and talked story with us, West Oahu is a heat trap right now. Everybody is wanting air conditioning, but if we had a higher canopy density, we would not have to pay for that air conditioning because it would be free because of the trees. Who knew that trees were infrastructure? So part of my work now is focusing on that. Also, I didn't mention, but I was a farmer for a while, including in Hawaii Island before that with Hawaii Maile. So we were the only operation where we took and Maile from old growths in the forest and brought it up using best botanical and horticultural technology in order to address the overharvesting issue that's going on. Most of the Maile going on in Hawaii now comes from the South Pacific because we gather too much. So I spent over 15 years of my life working on increasing horticultural technology for Maile. And after the victimization of long COVID, basically gave it to the employees and say, you guys continue the work, because you cannot take the resources with you after you hala, after you pass. So when it comes to where my loyalties are to our current and future generations. And I have testified on behalf of the board for the board's positions. The two issues that you brought up, Dr. Dudley, regarding hurricanes and regarding being on pig, let me remind you and the community, was that those were decisions of the board. My job as chair is to enforce the decisions of the board. I do not make up those decisions. My job is to be the umpire and to allow facilitated communication between the board and the community, and then we collectively make a decision. And if I recall correctly, it's like our decision was to work with Pearl City Neighborhood Board in order to try and do a disaster preparedness extravaganza, and that would be led by Chair Larry Beret, who happens to be in the audience tonight. So regarding your desire to be on the pig, I apologize, but the procedure was those members of the board that contacted us previously in order were named in the resolution. And we did offer an opportunity for board members to swap out, in which the vote to swap out any of those members to replace you for them was not seconded. So I am guilty. I am guilty of enforcing the protocols that we actually all agree to. And sometimes the enforcement of protocols doesn't go your way. But if we don't enforce the protocols, if we don't actually have civil discussions and agree to disagree, then people lose faith in the system. And people lose faith in their neighbors, and then no one will come back because they think the whole thing is shibai. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Chair Paris. Any other discussion? Mahalo. All those in favor of re-electing Chair Makana Paris as chair of this board, please say aye. Any opposed, say aole. Any kanalua? Congratulations, Chair Paris. You remain as chair of this board. Mahalo for your commitment to this board. Mahalo for your dedication to this community, and especially mahalo for your grace. Mahalo. I yield back to you, Chair. That's your mic open.
Mahalo. So we are re-elected to continue to be the person that makes people upset because they don't get their way. But that is part of the job of being the chair, is to be the lightning rod and to be the one that protects everyone else under the board, including our amazing advocate, Dr. Keone Dudley. My job is to actually advocate for the positions that come through and protect everyone. And so it's part of the job. So now let's go to the next elections. We have positions for vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. The chair will open nominations for all three. For the vice chair at this time.
Chair, I'd like to nominate a slate of officers. I'd like to nominate Vice Chair Lidstone, Secretary England, and Treasurer Maderas.
Okay, are there any other nominations? Chair is inclined towards open slate nominations at this time. Anyone else wishing to step up? Okay. Hearing none. Is there any discussion? Anyone wishing to publicly testify? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed say aole. Any abstentions say kanalua. Chair hears none, so the chair calls it unanimous and for all three positions. Congratulations. Let's see if we can make up some time for annual business meeting date, time, location, and format. The recommendation of the chair is Kapolama Hale, either 312 or Kapolei-Hale. Good catch. See who's awake. Okay. The meeting date to be fourth Wednesdays at 7 p.m. with both in person and online, so hybrid. Is there any other recommendations? Chair recognizes Dr. Keone Dudley.
In November, we usually don't have a meeting. We have that in the first Wednesday of December.
Gotcha. So Dr. Dudley brings up the determination of recess, which the chair is happy to rope in together. So recess will be in November for those holidays, and then the first 2 weeks of December, depending on availability, usually the first Wednesday, but sometimes it's the second. Is there any objection to the meeting date, time, location, format, and determination of recess? Anyone wishing to publicly testify? Sorry. Okay, and now let's go to discussion. I hear a discussion from Dr. Amy Bossack. Go ahead.
I'm just wondering if we would consider a half hour or an hour earlier start time. When we have those long meetings, 11 o'clock it's really hard. I have, yeah.
Yeah. So the question is whether or not we would consider half an hour earlier. Personally, I have no problem, but the issues that we've heard from community members before is that they're just not here yet in West Oahu. So is there anyone wishing to testify on whether or not you are okay with half an hour earlier or not? Because my concern is community availability. Okay, Dr. Dudley, go ahead.
I really think that what we need to do is cut the meeting at 10 o'clock. We've only really had one meeting that was a really long meeting, and I don't think it's a problem. I do see a problem in trying to start earlier, and if we just started at 7 and really made a point to end at 10 o'clock. You know, the times that we've really struggled is because we've allowed people to talk too long. And when we get to that session and we're in the last hour or half hour, we could just tell people, you know, you're limited to 1 minute and cut them at 1 minute or 3 minutes or whatever. So I really don't think that it's a good idea to move to 6:30. I'd rather keep it from 7 to 10.
Any further discussion from the board members on timing? Go right ahead, Board Member Hale.
Thank you, Chair Paris. Whatever time we start or end, it's about the community. We're talking about, we're listening to our community. If you want me to keep time, I'd be more than happy to cut people off. You know, time. Or give me a bell, ding, get their attention. You know, it doesn't matter what time we start, what time we end. The fact of the matter is we're here for the community. We got to hear their voice. And I understand Dr. Bowser's, Ohana commitments and stuff. And I'm empathizing with you, but without these people behind us, we're not on this board. That's all.
Mahalo. Any other discussion, any commentary, public testimony on this item? The last thing that the chair will acknowledge is that the Neighborhood Commission and the office does highly recommend that we end by 10 p.m. For 3 hours because of our contract with Olelo. So it is the general guideline that we try to get done by then. But to Member Munkaile's point, that ultimately this is a forum for the community. And if the community is still engaging on an issue or a topic in which they're following the protocols that we set forward, as the chair, I will not cut them off regardless of if Olelo is on or not, because this is the community's forum. And as long as they're not violating anything that we agreed to collectively, then we got to hear them out. Now, Dr. Dudley raises a really good point about whether or not we want to limit testimony to a minute, and we'll get to that later for everyone or for a period of time, which I think might be acceptable, right? For the last hour of the meeting, you might want to limit it to a minute but that's the next discussion. So at this time, hearing no other recommendations for meeting date, time, location, and format, and determination of recess schedule, if there's no objections, the chair calls it unanimous that the meeting date, time, location, format, and determination of recess schedule the same. Fourth Wednesdays, November off, and the regular meeting in December, first or second Wednesday. Now, let's get to the adoption of oral testimony rules, whether or not the board members or the community would like to consider different rules. Dr. Dudley did raise the point of limiting to 1 minute in the last half hour, was it? Or was it the last hour? Okay, he's okay with half hour or hour. So everybody gets 3 minutes, and then in the last half hour, you only get 1 minute. So we'll open up for public testimony or or discussion from board. You go right ahead, Hale, then Amy Bosler.
I'm sure there's a standard operating procedure of our board meetings, but can we flip it around and have public testimony at the beginning? Just a thought, because, everybody's all here. I mean, they just probably eat, or some of us didn't eat yet. So they got all that energy to flow. And probably their point would be much more clearer if they're given the first part of our board and talk story and get it out of the system. So the later parts, I know we got certain people on, dignitaries in state, federal, and city and county waiting, but gets back to what I said 5 minutes ago. It's about the community. So put them first, or consider it anyway. Put them first, let them volley out, talk story. That's listen to their feedback, and we move on to all our, stuff.
Okay, Mahalo, the point is well taken. That is beyond the scope of the agenda item tonight. The agenda is set by the chair, so we can work with the NCO and given the board members manao to try and see how we can move that forward. Going back to time for public testimony or space. Okay, go right ahead, Dr. Amy Bosler, and then Sheila Baderas.
Thank you. I was actually going to suggest the same thing as Moon. I would be against shortening for the last hour because that's where our community comments are happening. So if we have people waiting 2.5 hours to speak, I don't want to cut them off as well. So I would respectfully ask that we keep the 3 minutes so that our community members can advocate for themselves. Thank you.
Going to board member Sheila Maderas and then to vice chair afterwards.
So I agree with Dr. Bosler and Moon in regards to this is the people's board and everything that we do should be focused on that. I do also, and I think this is outside of what we're talking about, but to Moon's point about moving the community's inputs in at the top, we should also have the legislative updates right under because they're coming here. The elected officials, they were elected by the people. And sometimes the elected officials don't have a chance to update the community. And that's the whole point of them being here, because we need to know what is going on in the ledge or what type of community input that we can provide them as well. I think it should be community input, ledge update, and then the presenters. That's just my take.
Vice chair?
Chair, just really fast. I believe public input was up closer to the top like a while ago, and somehow it made its way back down. But if it could make its way back up, that would be great. Another thing is, if I don't know if this could be a rule, but it would be great for the board as well to keep its comments to a minimum, maybe 1 minute, especially if we're talking about the same issues that we've talked about before. Mahalo.
So on board member and vice chair, Dr. Michaela Linstow, makes up a good point. So the testimony rules or speaking rules also applies to the board members. So the board may choose to restrict its own self to certain timing issues. But right now we are the same timing as members of the public. So that is something to consider. Regarding why the public input is now currently where it is, regarding why the elected officials are in the public input, that goes back to our Office of Information Practice opinion that we receive, sharing that if we list the public officials and what they wish to comment is not on the agenda, then all we can do is passively receive the information. If they speak during public input, then whatever they share with us, we can have a dialogue. We just can't vote on it and we can agendize it for the next time. So that's a procedural issue according to the OIP on the Sunshine Law. And regarding the elected officials, so they are all on notice currently that if they wish to present something to the community, that they want to have dialogue and be up on the agenda, they can. So they just got to be like everyone else, 7 days notice, be like, we want to be on the agenda and we want to talk about X, Y, or Z, and then they will be at the top. That is not a problem. So procedurally, I think it's possible to do the things. Regarding public testimony, moving back up, I don't see why we can't actually have it at the top of the agenda after the Honolulu Fire Department and HPD, because those are statutorily required to be the first items. So I'm okay with switching that if there is no issue with anyone else. And we will check with NCO to make sure that we can do that well. Okay, go to Dr. Dudley, and then we have community members that wish to speak, which just come to the microphone and we'll get to you.
Good. I just want to say that, I 100% support community participation, but our problem hasn't been with that segment of the program where the community is allowed to speak. Our problem is when we have a presentation and then people get up and talk about that. And the problem isn't really when people say something that hasn't been said before. It's that people get up and say the same thing over and over and over again. And that night that we went to 10:30 or 11 or whatever it was, half of the people said the same thing that everybody else was saying. Thank you.
So regarding the concern that Dr. Dudley brought up, the board may wish to actually emphasize something that is already in RONR, but we do not currently follow because of custom. We allow people to speak as many times as they want. But in RONR, that we're speaking on any issue, which doesn't apply to public members, by the way, because you're not required. Only the board members are to speak no more than twice on an issue, and never twice on an issue if everyone else hasn't spoken once. So if the board wishes, we could limit it to everyone can only speak once on an issue. And then if everyone else that hasn't spoken doesn't want to speak, then we allow for a second round and then we stop. So there's two bites at the apple. So we could do it that way. So thoughts, questions, concerns? Otherwise, what we do right now is we allow people to engage as much as possible up to their allotted time. So that's the way I currently run it, is that everyone gets 3 minutes and we time you. And if you go up and you speak for 15 seconds, you go back down, you go up again, you speak for 45, you go back down. You still got 2 minutes left to speak. So it's based on time, not on the amount of times you go to the mic. Anyone wishing to change the rules? Okay, no one wishing to change the rules. Well, we had a great discussion. So this is what we're about, community forum, figuring out our protocols together. Okay. Hearing no recommendations for change, the rules are as previously adopted. There is no motion for a change at this time. So Dr. Dudley, go right ahead.
I do think that we need to think, not this meeting, but for the future, about in the last hour, limiting people to 3 minutes or 1 minute and telling them, you get 1 minute and at the end, because we got to be out of here at 10 o'clock. And I think that we ought to be doing that, not this meeting, but in the future, maybe we can think about it and talk about it.
Okay, thank you very much. Mahalo, so that people know, as presiding officer, is when we do get to a time crunch and there's a request for urgency and not much time, the chair has, at the request of board members, requests from our community members to shorten their time, but recognizing that their right is 3 minutes. But we can always make a request, and most of the time, community members follow through. Okay. Hearing no motion for the adoption of oral testimony rules to change it as is, the chair recognizes that the motion fails. There is no motion, and that the rules remain the same. Now let's get to reports. Board of Water Supply. Okay.
Aloha, sorry.
I was like, where are you at? Okay, there you are. Online.
Oh,
Aloha, right there.
Congrats on another season of Board Chair, Emergency Report. I will make mine quick. There were no water main breaks in the Makakilo-Kapolei-Honokai polling area in June. And we have a couple events coming up. On Saturday, August 1st, we have our annual Hale Xeriscape Garden open house and undersea plant sale. That's going to be from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Hale Xeriscape Garden. Admission is free, street parking is free. We have free BWS shuttles running all day. Any purchases for plants will need to be made by credit or debit card, so no cash or checks. And for more information on that, go to boardofwatersupply.com/plant sale. And then we also have our annual Imagine a Day Without Water event coming up on September 26th from 10 to 2 p.m. It's going to be in Waianae this year, so Waianae Mall. I will have more information for that next month, so as we get a little bit closer, but just wanted you to get that on your calendars. And then I know we briefly touched last month about having our water resources expert at the August meeting. So next month I will be bringing our water resources program administrator, Barry Usagawa. He's going to be in attendance at the meeting. And so he is ready and raring to answer all the questions that you guys get. So please bring them, be loaded. But we'll also have information on our desal facility and everything. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions or concerns in the interim, and I can get very prepped.
Mahalo for the report. Any comments, questions, or concerns from the board or the community? Let's go to board member Moon Hale.
Good evening, and thank you for that thorough Board of Water Supply report. Last month, I asked with regards to a potential, computer programs that's going to be coming into the valley or into the island pretty soon. And are you guys prepared to, I guess, saturate the generators and everything else for that computer program I made mention? And if so, how you guys going to, the contaminated water, how you guys going to handle that and all the above? I was a little bit more specific in last month's, but I'm sure you understand what I was asking you. And maybe the experts, when they come and they face the board, maybe they can touch that, because that reminded me of that Erin Brockovich movie where PG&E contaminated water and blah, blah, blah.
No, mahalo for that. And I did take down details of every question that was brought up last month. So all of that is for the experts are all going to take care of it for you.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns for Board of Water Supply from the community or board? Hearing none, thank you very much. And let's move on. Now we have Mayor Rick Blangiardi's representative. They are not here present in person. The mayor's office did circulate a memo, which is available online in our board packet and our Google Drive. At this time, I will highlight some announcements from it, recognizing that we'll hold commentary or further questions and follow-ups till when the mayor's representative comes. So one thing that I think we should highlight is that the Honolulu Department of Transportation Services is going to enact the new ordinance 2432 to reduce the speed limits in school zones from 25 miles per hour to 20 miles per hour from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So that is something that is going to be enacted currently. We also have a follow-up that the plasma arc gasification suggestion and all other technologies for solid waste management will be continues to be looked at by ENV, that the Department of Transportation Services will be working on and has worked on the emergency access road connecting Makakilo Drive to Kuala Parkway, and Councilmember Andrea Tupola has provided a handout, and Kika may be speaking to that later, so I won't steal her thunder. Bus service schedules, the DTS did want to inform us that route scheduling inconsistencies that people have been seeing is partly because of labor shortage. So they don't have enough bus drivers and potentially mechanics. This is a perennial issue with the city. So, anyone that has a CDL, please encourage them to consider applying. And also we may consider advocating for increase in pay because it's probably because they're getting paid too little. That's why they have so many pukas. Regarding Member Medeiros' ADA sidewalk violation, follow-up, they are still working on it with the Department of Design and Construction, and they anticipate submittal of the redesign by October of 2026. So thank you for being consistently on that, Board Member Medeiros. Villages of Kapolei Land Transfer Deficit and Timeline Accountability members ask about that, and they say they are looking at it, and they met with the Department of Housing and Land Management with HHFDC in order to try and address that issue. So it seems like they are figuring out a payment schedule and how to take into all of our prior taxpayer dollars, which was super awesome from our community member, raising the fact that villages of Kapolei homeowners have been paying property taxes to the city and county of Honolulu for decades, and we have not received city services. So because of the lack of transfer. So now that we highlighted it, the appropriate agencies are looking at it. And the Office of Climate Change and Sustainability and Resilience is continuing to work on the major actions that their office is taking into effect, and reminds everyone about the Oahu Systems Plan, which our board at the last meeting took action on to provide comments. So they are thankful that we are engaging. There's much more thorough explanations in the memo, and I encourage you to look at the memo in the board packet and bring your questions to the next meeting, concerns or comments for the mayor's office. Is there anything at this time that people wish for the neighborhood board assistant or myself to get back to the mayor's office in the interim? Open to the board and to community. Going to board member Sheila Medeiros.
This is a new item. It's so it was brought up by several residents in regards to, it was in the news too, a smell. There's this smell that is I haven't smelt it, but there's a lot of people complaining there. It smells like fuel or something stench. Is this the city and county? Who do we go to find out where this smell is coming from? Like who is in charge of that?
Okay, neighborhood board assistant asked if there's a particular location, and from my understanding, it's on the, go right ahead. Member Kara Engling will give us the details.
Thank you, Sheila, for bringing it up. I forgot to put it on my little question thing. It has been going on for about 2 months. I live in Kapolei Knolls, and it happens at night. It really is very strong at night, and it seems like it's 6 o'clock-ish all the way till the morning. Then all of a sudden it stops. And my husband brought it up to me, and I said, really, I can't smell it. Then my neighbors and other people are like, what is that? And so, yes, it's in the evenings. And it happens when the north winds blow harder. It's real strong.
So north in the southerly direction or going? Yes, okay. Auntie, come on up if we are trying to identify the location, because perfect. So we can get it to the mayor's office or whichever appropriate agency.
That is helping at Grace Pacific. They're doing asphalt right now, and you happen to be in the area. That's where the road where we've been fighting for months to try to do Makakilo completion of the road's been going on for years. Now that I brought up to all of you, I sent you all the information from 2014 for the history with Frank and all that. I'm on the board with Frank on that committee, and Thad, and also John Shockley. I've been involved with it from the very beginning, but this is nothing new. But the smell is bad, but it's like anything when the air is at the right way, and that's the reason There's a lot of problems that Makakilo extension needs to happen. And I don't mean to say things, but the city, why is the city spending 1.5? I sent you stuff for your poor board member there, Dr. Amy, got a lot of stuff from me to send to the board. But my comment is, why are we spending $1.5 million for bicycles where they got stolen before, they end up in the ditch, they even come as far as West Oahu? And we need more important things. They keep skipping and dumping on us at Makakilo West. We need to have things done for the community to make them safe over here. There's only one road in and one road out. And if you have a disaster, there's no way out. How many fires have we had just recently? How many wrecks have we had in Makakilo Drive? I'm there that lives right in the middle. I seen them where they land up almost in our swimming pool, and that's in the middle. People are racing down there. They're going 50, 60. They're driving on the sidewalks. They're driving bicycles, electric bikes. They're driving the motorcycles. And I even seen them when traffic's bad and they don't want to wait. They get on a motorcycle and just zoom it. And people, older people, anybody's walking isn't safe. Their dogs or whatever. It needs to stop. The speeding needs to stop. But we need to quit spending money. Another thing is, I'm sorry to bring it up, but the city, I feel, is wasting all that money downtown for who in the world needs to walk across the Alawai Canal to go over there and spend all that money when, gee, maybe we might be able to spend money and have Makakilo completion if they quit throwing the money away where it's not needed. They don't need it. That's a security. Who wants people to come to their area and they don't even know where they live? I mean, I think we need to really look at where we're at right now, where we're spending our money. We need to quit wasting it. They need to think of West Oahu. There's a lot of people that need the safety. And people, you know, they're talking about a road. Well, that's great. But how does it help the people if you only allow the ambulance, the fire trucks, and the police to come up one lane? But oh no, nobody else can come get out. What are you going to do with the people when they need to get out of Waianae or Eva Beach or Pearl City, or if they need somewhere and they're up in the area, you need to go somewhere safe. You need the road to get there. And speaking of that, now don't get mad at me, but transportation should think of poor planning. When they started that zipper lane, they didn't even have a person who could come over and fix it. If it broke, it's set for 3 or 4 days. You hit a bridge, that was a disaster with the military. I mean, I had to work down there for years, so I know how the poor people feel. But there's also carelessness. They aren't thinking of what's the best for the people. They need to start looking at West Oahu. We're just as important. I'm happy that at least they're doing some things to take care of the people in Waianae. I know how that is too with the base. I used to work over there, Lulu Lake, and help out all over with the military. But we need to start thinking of safe ways for them out and fixing things. They're slowly getting stuff done, and we need to start fighting, and they need to start recognizing us. And I'll stop at this last one is real quick, is whoever made the decision for this stupid bike lane going 2 ways down at Straub, trying to get into the hospital to have doctor's appointment, is the worst thing I ever have seen. I wish they were down there because it's unsafe. You have parked cars there. All of a sudden you're driving and there's damn parked cars there. And you don't even know there's parked cars there. And then all of a sudden you're trying to turn and here's one bike coming this way and one bike coming that way. And I thought, I don't know, but that's sad. But we need help from you guys to talk to the mayor and get our point across. Thank you.
Okay. Mahalo, thank you very much. And just under the wire. Okay. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Let's go to Board Member Mick Ferrer. Now, this is for the mayor, and there's no representative here, so these are going to be hopefully taken down so that they can try and address these concerns at the next meeting.
Yes, I was wondering when we might get the environmental report for Makakilo Drive. It was promised to us a year ago, and it was supposedly completed. And well, Mike Formsby isn't there anymore, but me, Frank, Mike, Roger, Morton and his environmental person was there, and they promised us the environmental report, and we still want it.
Board Member Ferrera, we just clarifying, this is the new environmental assessment, not the one that was done previously.
Whatever we can get.
Okay, so this is any environmental reports that they currently have. Okay, got it. Thank you. Any other questions, comments, or concerns for the mayor's office? Come on down.
Hi, Leticia Hernandez, Villages of Kapolei. I know a lot of it is a blaming game between city and county and the state, but I do appreciate whoever did the community cleanup, removing all those shopping carts with all the left, belongings. And then also cleaning up this little fire thingy that happened by the bus stop. I just thank the board because obviously I think this meeting today is what led to that cleanup before this meeting, because I drove by yesterday, drove by the whole month, and it was there. Just, I guess if we could continue that, because what I've grown to know is that if we as a community allow it, it becomes a standard. Then the standard becomes a normal, and we just become somebody's dumping ground. So if the city or whoever, whenever they're out there, if they could deploy their big trucks, if it's on their property or their premises, I know that's where the line, I guess, is drawn, is that everybody just cleans up their own Opala. Because if we're expected to clean up our area, then I think that anything that's being left, unfortunately by others, that it still becomes their Juliana to clean it up. If we could just pass that along to the mayor. Thank you.
Mahalo. Any final comments, questions, or concerns for the mayor's office, going back to Board Member McFerrera?
She mentioned the fire mess. It's over by the state building. I called 311 about that and reported it and sent in pictures, and somebody else did also. So I don't know if that, did you say it had been cleaned up? Okay, yeah, so that was, I made a complaint and included my title, so maybe that got some movement because the other complaint hadn't.
Mahalo. That was a great use of 311, everyone, the new application. So when you see a problem, use that application, snap a picture, send it in. And if you don't get a response, feel free to send that to your neighborhood board representative so that we can address it at the board meeting. Let's go to Board Member Sheila Medeiros.
Just a quick one. There was a concern in regards to the James Campbell Industrial Park area in terms of traffic. There's several complaints that came in to me asking, is there a plan to alleviate, because right now it's growing. There's more businesses now with Amazon coming in. What is the plan to alleviate some of that traffic? Is there another route that they can take to open it up?
Mahalo. Thank you for the question to the mayor's office. Final call. Going once, going twice. We are finished with that. Want to clarify again for the smell so that we circle back that we are requesting the mayor's office to communicate with Grace Pacific as a potential site of that to see if there's something going on right now in the last 2 months that we should know about so the community can at least understand what's happening. Okay, now we go on to the Hawaii Department of Transportation if they are available. Great. They usually come once a year unless we ask for them. The Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Okay, very good. We're making good time. Next. Oh, wait. Okay. We will come back to OHA after the OMPO report. So Uncle Frank, are you ready to go? Our board's liaison.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Frank Gennaro. At the July meeting of OMPO Citizen Advisory Committee, the CAC, it was announced that OMPO will be hiring more people. The next policy board meeting will be on 27 July. Miley Greenhill of OMPO covered revision 9 of the Transportation Improvement Program, the removal of 1 project and the addition of 9. Since no city projects were involved, I did not object to its recommendation to the policy board. Another presentation covered expansion of the trails across the North Shore to include paved pedestrian walkways. In the open forum, I stated that testimony urging the inclusion of the project to complete Makakilo Drive as an agenda item was submitted to the policy board by NB number 34, myself and others. As expected, the item was not placed on the agenda. Concerning the drive, the city's plan to provide an emergency access road from the end of Pueonani Street to the H1 Kualakai interchange is, in my opinion, a diversionary tactic to divert attention away from the needed project. No cost figures were given, and the road would only be open to local drivers if first responders approved its use. This road, of course, would do nothing to relieve the daily congestion getting on and off the hill or expedite access to rail at the UH West Oahu station or to the Queens West emergency room for personal medical emergencies. It should be rejected by our elected representatives as well as by this board. Mahalo.
Mahalo for the report, and mahalo to our community members for rallying to try and get the policy board to put it on the agenda. Let's not give up hope, because we requested it to be on a future agenda, and maybe if we continue to ask nicely, they might put it on a future agenda. Or not so nicely. I mean, consistency works. Okay, any questions, comments, or concerns for our OMPO liaison, Uncle Frank? Hearing none, let's move on. Now we get to the presentation part of our agenda, and let's welcome up Vice Chair of the Neighborhood Commission, Larry Verre. Welcome.
Well, good evening and aloha to everyone here, Chair Paris and Vice Chair, board members. I really wanted to be here in person because I think I canceled out 2 times before because of family issues. But really, it's an honor and a privilege to be here. Myself, I'm Larry Verre. I'm the Vice Chair for the Neighborhood Commission. I've been on for a year. I'm representing the City Council in my position. I'm there. Chair Patrick Smith, he's the chairman for the commission, and he's directed me, both him and I, to try to get out to all 33 neighborhood boards, so that way we can meet with all of you, see how you operate, making sure that you're following the neighborhood plan, and also with the Sunshine Law, which you guys do very well. But I'm also the chair of the Pearl City Neighborhood Board. I've been there for 20 years. I've been privileged to be elected for 10 consecutive years. And of course, my board meeting elections are next week. We'll see if I'm still around. I tried to get the youngest guy to take my place. No takers. But I got to tell you, it has really been a strong partnership with Pearl City and Makakilo. With Frank and Keone, I got to tell you, I know this guy for so long. And you guys have made such a great impact on this island, being prepared for disaster. There's this guy right here, he's the guy for that. As far as the transportation issues, hats off to Frank. He's fighting the cause. Same thing, I got a choke point in Pearl City with the Pacific Palisades. You guys stay with it. You got to have something, and it can be done. Just stay with it. But as far as the neighborhood commission, I just want to say that we hold monthly meetings. You're all welcome to attend. Come on virtually. We address public concerns, usually related to neighborhood boards. We do have committees. Right now, I'm the chair of the neighborhood plan committee. We're reviewing it right now. But the big thing we're there for, there are complaints at times that come in. Board members, there's infighting that goes on. The public feels they've been wrong, so they put a complaint in against board members. So we adjudicate that through the board meetings, and we hopefully are very fair as we try to do that. But the thing is, we're not going to tolerate any unsatisfactory behavior, especially by board members. And Moon, you were absolutely right. You know, we're all here to represent the community, and really, we should hear them up first. And that's one of the other things that Pat Smith and I are going to try to do, is try to come up with a sequence for you guys. Time management is so critical. You need to critique yourselves. What can you do? It's with creativity, resources you got. Just think it out, okay? Because I know you can do it. There are going to be some changes coming up. We're looking at proposals. You have the perfect board complement. To be a cohesive board, you got just the right members. Where there are problems, or we've got 23 members on a board Everybody wants to ask that one question as we get those long board meetings. So don't be surprised if you may see a reduction in the number of board members. Also be looking at the old timers like me, 20 years, there could be a term limits. And of course, I think they said they were going to grandfather for Keone and I. So, but as far as roles and responsibilities of the commission, we're establishing policy, which we're doing right now. And we're trying to be very fair. We're tearing the hell out of that neighborhood plan, thinking about you guys and helping you, because we're not going to micromanage how you do meetings. You guys get through your meetings the best way. Yeah, every now and then you might misstep. I love the sunshine law thing that might happen. Is it major? Was it a major impact? No. You go on with business and keep going. And the other thing is evaluating the board system. That's why Chair Smith and I, believe it or not, I don't know how much you do at home. I don't have a life because I'm channel hopping. And I'm going between channel 49 and 54, find out what neighborhood board's on tonight, because I can't watch Elsmith or something like that. But I'm watching the boards. I watch you all the time. And no kidding, between Nakuli and Waianae and you have the most challenging issues that come up. And the key thing is, because of the board members that are in here, you're trying to keep your character apart. You know, Keone's over here fighting like hell because the developments are just coming in, they're hitting you from all directions. And your chair is the key person. The chair is the orchestrator of this process. He's trying to keep things moving, trying to get through all the issues. If he says stop, you gotta stop. The thing is, you gotta respect the chair. And the other thing is respecting your officials. If you disrespect your officials, not coming to your meeting. You gotta have that cohesiveness within, because you're listening to the public, gathering the information, then you're looking at prioritizing and acting on it, and then you're ready to set that recording. You guys do so well, eloquently, but look at your resolutions. Do that very well. That's your requirements, and it goes down into the books. So when I've done Pearl City with my chair, with Charmaine Duran, we have a 3-pager, our legislators. It's called Legislative Priorities for the Pearl City Neighborhood Board. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel every year. We gave it to them, federal, state, and city. I recommend you guys sit down and do that, and that way it's in there. So when it comes up with the legislative period, we don't micromanage them. It's just take your pick. But you got to get through. We notice we prioritized it for you. Okay, the roles and responsibilities. Again, increase and assure effective citizen participation decisions of government. You're facilitating that. You're prioritizing for the legislators. So when you come in your meeting, you got the emergency guys in, you got all the hot stuff that went on. Be careful. Then the public comes in. Legislators sit in the back of the room, they're listening, or they're on Lello. You're taking notes. And the other thing, what I recommend too, is again, with the sunshine law. When the public comes up to provide an issue, the board should be listening. The chair is the one that's taking the notes, and he's prioritizing. And then the next thing is, you can raise your hands and, but could you Chair, can I get a clarification for that? Because he's going to be going to your committee to say, hey, I need you to work this. That's the way it works. So that way you're watching your time management. I got problems with the board. Everybody wants to talk and ask questions. We're getting on that. The other thing is, following the sunshine law and Robert's Rules of Order, Chair Harris is right on that. It's probably the best I've seen doing that. And the other thing is having fully functional cohesive. You guys are doing it. When you have committees, you have a meeting, have somebody taking a minute, okay? You got to record all that stuff. Problem is, when the boards, I'll have a committee meeting and nobody took the minutes. We don't know what happened. Okay, because the board deserves that. But I want to commend you, because I did come here to complain about stuff. But the thing is, though, you guys do have tough situations. You got a lot of people all the way out the door, you know, and everybody wants a chance to speak. But the chair starts to see the redundancy. Says, okay, if anybody has anything different from this, okay, come on up. But if it's going to be the same thing, we have to cut it off. The neighborhood plan right now, we spent six months going over a communication process for complaints. It is taking too long. 3 months, 4 months to take care of something. We're not going to get down to 10 days, and then things come up. And I've had 2 to 3 meetings. Yeah, 2 to 3 more meetings, and I think we're going to finalize the neighborhood plan. Of course, we went out to all the boards, and I'm going to do it again. You guys are growing tremendously. There's also, you take a look at, there may be justification for a new board. But right now, at this point, looking at your boundaries, and I know you guys wanted to partner up with Nakuli because of all the development that's going on around the area here. We can't have, the way the boundaries are set up in the neighborhood plan, you can't have two boards in the same boundary. The reason is because the way the automatic process is for the election ballots that go out for you, it's based off that. But what you can do is do a memorandum agreement that both of you are going to monitor this area and kind of work together and those things. And let's see, and last thing is keep up the great engagements for your community. Remain as a cohesive board and respect and trust in your chair. That's so important. The other thing is, you got a board with the vice chair and the chair out of the sync that are not lockstep. You're going to have problems. You've got to work together. The other thing is I recommend you help the process. When you're doing your resolution and stuff, do a read ahead. Do it about 72 hours before you get out the course of this is going in. Guys, take a look at it. Form your questions for the board. So everybody's got a chance to see. If you go on your board meeting, start off, okay. And you have that board member read that resolution through. You don't have to read the whole thing. He points to it. So they need changes. They can find out you got through the process really good. And the other thing too is I want you to work real close. You are so lucky. You got the best videographer for 11. And you have Melissa. Melissa's been with me, I think now 5 months or whatever. And I gotta tell you, she's gotta be the best, dude. You have the best parent feeding in here. Because he takes that camera, it's nice when somebody's talking, the camera's on. And then somebody else talking, goes to next one. When somebody's board meetings, it's just sleeping in the back of the room. So, but I want you to work with the NCO when you got questions. The Executive Secretary Lloyd Yonanaga is always available to you guys. He really likes doing, he's got a great staff. And the other thing is for Chair Paris, remember, you can always reach out to Patrick Smith or myself and any of you board members. We're there for you. We want you to do your best to take care of your community. Other than that, that's all I got. But I need oxygen. I'm gonna find the guy who runs the air handler.
Yeah.
That's what they forgot about you guys. They didn't turn it on tonight. And if I was gonna tell you, if I pass out, I need oxygen, not CPR. Any questions?
Okay, mahalo for the presentation. Any questions, comments, or concerns for Mr. Larry Vare and as Vice Chair of the Neighborhood Commission? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now let's welcome up the second presentation for tonight with Chair's proposals to modernize energy in Hawaii, affordable, reliable, and sustainable power. Yeah. Come on down.
Hello, thank you for having us tonight. My name is Lynn Miyahira, and I'm with a company called IQ360 that's locally here in Hawaii. We've worked on a number of projects. Last time I think I was talking to this board, it was about a solar project. Unfortunately, that one didn't go through. It got terminated, but we are still in the energy space, and I'm here today with my colleague Eric Montag from JERA. So I'm going to kick it off first to kind of lay what the problem is, and then I'll have Eric talk about JERA. Also wanted to acknowledge Jared Schreck here from also a consultant here in Hawaii, John Ayato, also on our team, and then James Pakele over there helping us with community outreach. All right, so if you can, so the problem we're trying to fix here is that Wahoo still uses about 70%, we get 70% of our energy is coming from burning wood. And I didn't know this until I started working on this project, but we're the only state doing that. A lot of other places have already either, so I know it's hard to see, but that like all the pink you see is natural gas. A lot of states have switched from oil to natural gas already. Even Texas-rich or oil-rich Texas does not use oil to create electricity. There are a lot of places still using coal. I don't know if you can tell, but we're the only ones still burning oil. And so we really need to think about how to get off that. It's one of the most expensive ways to make electricity, and it's one of the dirtiest ways. So that's kind of the crux of the problem here. And while we're looking at that, the next problem is that our power plant, and so it's expensive and dirty. I don't know how to tell you guys this, but we pay really high electric rates compared to the Other states are only paying 10 cents, maybe 9 cents, maybe as California's paying 26, but we're paying 35. That's an average too. We are paying 3 times what other people are paying. And we're also we have, for the amount of electricity we generate, we have some of the highest emissions. So even though we don't use as much, we're putting out a lot of emissions. So it's expensive and it's dirty. Okay, next slide, please. And so part of this problem is that we have really old power plants. So for Oahu, and I should remind you, this is a Oahu specific problem that we are trying to address. Unlike the neighbor islands that have much smaller populations and don't have as much industry on the island, they are marching towards all their renewable energy goals, and they'll probably get there faster than us. We on Oahu don't have the space, and we have the population density. And our power plants are really old. The turbines are 60 plus years old. That means that they're decades past their expected life, right? And when you have old power plants, that means you have poor efficiency. So they're only about 30-something% efficient. So that means you need 100 barrels of oil and you're only going to get the power of 30 whatever % of that is. Really poor efficiency. That would be like having a car where you're supposed to get 20 miles per the gallon, but you're only getting 10. Really bad. And so what we need are to modernize our power plants. Again, that's providing 70% of the energy that we're using today. And part of this problem is, so what I've heard when we were trying to build a solar project is, how come you guys building solar project and I don't see my bill going down, right? Like I don't see my bill going down. The problem is we're not addressing the oil part. And until you address the oil part, you can't add more solar. It's like pouring water into a cup that's already full. And so our power plants are so old, they're just on all the time. They can't ramp down in the middle of the day when the sun is shining. So that's what Kauai is doing, right? You've heard about Kauai being 100% renewable for up to 10 hours of the day. They have newer power plants. They're still running on diesel, but they can ramp them down in the middle of the day, let the solar take over as much as possible, right? And then they ramp them back up at night. Ours are so old that if you turn them off, it takes like 8+ hours to turn them back on. So you can't turn them off, right? Because you're going to need it before that. So that's where we are. We're stuck. So we're stuck with this huge oil, I'll say, base that we're using. And that's because we have old power plants. And so when we're saying, what are we working towards? And I think what's really important is that what we're trying to say is we want to replace oil with gas. And so on this graph, on the bottom, the oil is the black part. The gas is the gray part. And some people ask, how come you suggesting gas? Gas is still technically a fossil fuel. Yes, but it's cheaper and it's cleaner burning than oil. But it's not the end goal. And that's why we call it a bridge. The gas in the middle is meant to be temporary, and the future is actually out there in the green. And that's where actually JERA comes with a lot of experience. They're doing a lot of experimenting in hydrogen research in zero emissions thermal generation. So this bottom part is what they call thermal generation. That's the firm power you've heard of. You can just ramp it up when you need it. It doesn't depend on the weather. But if you notice, on top of that, there's a lot of yellow. That's solar. And so we still need to keep working towards more solar. So the dark yellow is rooftop solar. The light yellow is utility scale. That's the big solar farms that you see. We still need to keep moving on those. Those are important things. So this is not a question of LNG versus solar. It's LNG with solar. They work together, right? The gas supports, kind of like makes the foundation on which you can build more solar, because the solar will be intermittent, right? It goes up and down, depending on the weather. So that's what we're saying. LNG would be the foundation for more intermittent renewables. And then these new power plants would be something called fuel flexible. So fuel flexible means can run it on gas. Maybe in the future, it'll be biofuels. Maybe in the future, it'll be hydrogen, but you use the same infrastructure that you build for gas, and then you can continue using it all the way past 2045, 2050, so you're not wasting the infrastructure. So this graph on the right comes from the State Energy Office. But that's, and it's still like a plan for the future. It's not set in stone because all the blue you see is wind. And I have a lot of people who have questions about wind. They're like, but you know what, that's a different, so if what's important is that we get the base part down first. So, next slide. Oh, sorry, not that one, but next slide. There you go. Oh, you know what? That graph is linking to that page, yeah. Okay, so that's the problem we're trying to solve. And I'm going to hand this over to Eric Montag, who's the vice president. What is your name? Sorry, vice president of development at JERA, who's going to explain why JERA, what they're here, what are they proposing.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, everyone, for taking some time to listen to us today. A little bit about JERA. This isn't probably a common company name most of you have heard regularly. JERA is a relatively large Japanese energy company. We are owned by two large electric utilities in Japan. And outside of our activity to supply Japan with power, we operate in the US, we operate in Asia, we operate in other parts of the Pacific. And so JERA has, well, the company JERA has only been around for about 11 years. Our parent companies are much older companies, TEPCO, which is the largest power utility in Japan, and Chubu Electric. So that's where our DNA comes from. I think part of the reason we are here in Hawaii and have joined this journey is because in Japan, we face many of the same challenges that are faced in Hawaii. And we're maybe a little bit further ahead in tackling some of those challenges. Our price of energy is quite a bit lower in Japan, but we still have to find ways to deal with limited land constraints, and we don't have our own significant resources similar to other island locations. So we import fuel, and we do that while we are still working towards a net zero target of 2050. Not quite as ambitious of Hawaii, but in the same direction. And it's not easy, right? It's not easy. Any choice you make about energy or infrastructure in that regard comes with a trade-off. And so it's a complex discussion, and we recognize that we are only one part of the equation, but we are happy to be here to talk about this and more importantly, share a little bit about what we think is a sensible step forward for Oahu. And then lastly, to be here to answer some questions. So I'm going to take you through a little bit more about this whole subject of LNG and tell you our perspective on it, and then happy to hear feedback or questions after that. So if you look at the next slide, JERA has made a proposal to the state of Hawaii, specifically for Oahu, to upgrade not only the thermal power infrastructure, so to build a power plant like the ones that Lynn was talking about, but also bring in natural gas. And to bring that natural gas in, not to displace the renewable energy that's growing here, but to displace the 70% of the energy that is currently fueled by imported oil. I think one of the framing things we'd like to help you understand is while these projects work together, they are two somewhat distinct and separate projects. So about 75% of this $2 billion investment we talk about is really focused on upgrading of the power plant itself, kind of separate from the fuel choice that's being used. And that really comes back to fundamentally, buying a new car. The power plants here operate at a level that is so inefficient that they take almost twice as much fuel in as a new power plant to generate the same amount of electricity. So that's the most simple, I think, upgrade the state could do before you even talk about a different fuel, is move into a modern power generation facility that not only is more efficient, but also can turn up and down much more reactively. And that's what we've seen in Japan, where we've added a lot more solar and renewable energy over the last decade. And many of our power plants there operate in a more flexible way where they ramp up and down frequently in a given day instead of running at a base load. It's tougher to do that with really old power plants. The other piece of this, and this is what we'll talk about a little bit more here, is the LNG or the fuel infrastructure. And that's about a quarter of the investment that we're talking about. And that consists of how you bring the gas safely to Hawaii so that it can be used like it's used in most other places around the world. I'll move to the next slide. So here's kind of a quick overview of the project from a very high level. Liquid natural gas, and I'm sure you guys have all heard of natural gas. Liquid natural gas is the same as natural gas, but in a liquefied form. So in places in the world where they don't have their own natural gas production and access to a pipeline to get gas, they will receive it through in a liquid form. So they basically take that natural gas and cool it down really cold, so it goes from a gas to a liquid, and they store it in a specialized ship. Think of it as like a large Yeti tank. You know, it keeps it cold through the voyage, and they take it to a new spot like Japan or many places in the Caribbean or lots of places in Europe, and then they pump that gas. They often will regasify it on offshore, and in this case, we're going to use what's called a floating storage and regasification unit. So liquid natural gas will be stored offshore of Oahu. It won't ever come onshore as liquid. And there'll be a pipeline that's built subsea that will bring the gas onshore and tie into the existing natural gas network that is here. And so that's the project and the infrastructure that will go here will be related to that receiving vessel that floats offshore and a subsea pipeline to bring the gas onshore. Once the gas is onshore, it will be able to get moved to the power plant in a gas pipeline or to other uses. There is a small gas network that's used today that Hawaii Gas operates. So that's kind of the overview of the project. This is obviously a cartoon, not to scale, but it gives you an idea of where it's at. The facility will be located, anything that you see will largely be located about 3 miles offshore. So here's gives you an idea of what that vessel will look like floating out there. That vessel, today they bring oil in this Barbers Point area. I don't know if any of you have seen that. There's a couple of buoys that float out there, where the oil tankers will come in and plug into those buoys and pump the oil to tanks on shore. This will be similar, except for this one, we won't ever pump the liquid on shore. What will happen is this vessel will warm up the liquid offshore and push it in as gas. So similar to like where my home is in Texas, I get gas in a vapor form that comes through a pipeline in my neighborhood into my home. The way that it's going to come on shore is going to be very similar to that. And it's new to Hawaii. This is pretty much how most power generation that's done this way around the world takes place. This floating concept was relatively new about 20 years ago, using a floating storage vessel. Since then, there's about 52 of these now in operation around the world. There's a ton of them in Europe right now. So after the Ukraine crises and when the Russian gas was cut off, floating storage regas units like this were used very commonly to help supplement that lack of fuel and keep the lights on in Europe. So this subject is, I think, quite complex, and there's a lot in it. There's not so much we can cover in this short time here. But one of the things that we are in the process of that we have started is we pre-filed with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, which is the body that oversees importation of gas anywhere in the United States. And the FERC lays out a process under which any of these projects have to be completed. And that process, has requirements around the type of reporting you have to do, the type of permitting, and the type of community engagement. And so we are at the very beginning of that process. And so coming up in August, we actually have two open houses that we're scheduled in the first week of August. One of them is here on the west side, and one of them is in Honolulu, where we will have a number of people there to be able to go in much more depth about the project and to share a bit more about what the objectives are here, how it will come together, but importantly, answer questions and concerns and take feedback that we can incorporate into this overall process to make sure the solution that comes together is well informed by the people that live here and are going to be impacted by it. So we encourage all of you to participate in that if you have questions. Outside of those formal sessions, we'd be happy to engage and answer any questions that you may have. That's I think we touched on this last one. Yeah.
Flyers.
Okay. Yeah, I guess timing on this. So these projects don't happen overnight. We're in the pre-filing phase, which is at the very beginning of the project. And so this is a project that will take several years. We anticipate that 2030 will be the date at which it will actually be on stream and able to bring gas in. That's in the scheme of large energy projects. That's a relatively fast timeline. It seems like a long ways away, but when we factor in all of the steps that we need to go through, that's the target we're looking at for this particular facility. Thank you.
Mahalo nui loa.
So go ahead. Probably a question. So I guess what's
Are you finished with your
Yeah,
presentation?
we have flyers about the open houses here on the table.
Okay, mahalo nui loa for your presentation. At this time, we open up for questions, comments, concerns from board, starting with Vice Chair Michaela Lindstone.
Mahalo. EIS, where does that come in the timeline?
Yeah, the EIS is like the core environmental document that will go in the pre-filing process. We're doing all the preparation for the EIS, and then it will be filed when the official FERC permit is actually submitted. And that, I think we're targeting right around the end of the year.
Okay, now let's go to Board Member Moon Kahele.
Thank you all for a good presentation. Are you guys pushing solar or liquid gas? Because I'm hearing both.
Oh. Yes.
Okay, so it's priority. The solar panel first, then the liquid?
Yeah. So this is, I think, a common misconception that these are separate efforts. If you saw that graph we showed at the beginning that had the various different choices, today, the state has done a great job building out renewables, and it's at about 30%. And there's a strong push mandate, and we fully support it to increase that as much as we can. But that doesn't make the oil disappear, right? And at the end of the day, Hawaii is going to need a firm thermal power to ensure the reliability of the grid. So both of those are quite important for Hawaii's energy future. JERA is often, I think identified more with the LNG side because we are a large LNG player in the world. We do have a very large solar portfolio as well, and we are very supportive of all types of solar energy efficiency here as well.
When is the open house? In August? And where? What time?
So August 3rd, Monday, UH West Oahu, the multi-purpose ballroom, starting at 4 o'clock, going till 8. So it's gonna be more like a science fair type of, you come and go at your speed. You can stay the whole time if you want, or you can just come and look at. There'll be free parking at UH West Oahu. So that's the Monday one, August 3rd. Wednesday, later that week, will be at the Neil Blaisdell Center, Pikake Ballroom, and that one is also 4 to 8. But just letting you know, free parking is after 5 p.m.
Next, let's go to Board Member Kara England.
I just want to make it clear to me, Chair, LNG or liquid natural gas is a fossil fuel, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, okay, because I have a lot of questions. Okay, so in my research, please bear with me. I know I have 3 minutes. In my research, There is still greenhouse gas emissions from LNG. Is that true? Because I saw that on my research.
That is.
So what is the difference between LNG's gas emission? That was one of the things I want to talk about versus oil.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. So LNG is not a perfect fuel, and we will be the first ones to tell you that it is not the final destination. But it is a big step forward from using heavy fuel oil that we use today in the power plants. The emissions profile of LNG is significantly lower when it's combusted. So this is why most everywhere else in the world has moved away from oil to gas. Now, it still does have emissions when it is burned, so it is not a perfect fuel by any means.
Because there are methane leaks. I did find that in my research, and that is another problem, right? The smell that gas can produce, right?
Yeah.
That is one of the issues.
So methane leaks is absolutely a real thing. It's what that term is generally attributed to is through the whole production and transportation of natural gas areas where it gets out. The smell that everyone thinks about with natural gas is actually generally an additive added when it's close to populations called mercaptan from a safety standpoint. So if you smell it, you know something's wrong. It's not something likely will be part of the gas infrastructure here, just because this type of, let me back up. That will be a Hawaii gas decision. They're the ones that sell gas to homes and businesses. But in terms of bringing in bulk gas, it's generally not typical to add that mercaptan to that gas from the smells.
So you did mention that we have a very aging HECO plant. So I went to their repowering plant presentation, I guess it was 2 months ago, and I have it up right here. This is from HawaiiElectric.com. So they're going to be, I'm going to read here. The first 2 new generating units begin commercial operation 2029 all the way to 2033. It's going to be a fuel flexible combustion turbine. So how are you guys working with HECO? They look like they're going to regenerate. I mean, they're changing. Yeah, they're improving their facility at Waiau. So are you a partner with them, or how does that work? Because it sounds like you want to take over or maybe replace it.
No. I think, so we're not, so first of all, there's a lot of power plants on the island. So HECO owns a couple of them, and then there's several other companies that own power plants. And most all of those today run on a fuel oil or an oil derivative. HECO has 2 big power plants, the Waiau power plant and the Kahi power plant. You guys are familiar with the Kahi power plant. Both of those are very old. They proposed a upgrade of the Waiau power plant to go to biofuel, and they were awarded that contract. I think it's a few months ago, the PUC gave them the green light to start on that project. Now, there's a lot of detail around that, but that project and the type of upgrade they're doing, even though their current plan is to put biofuel in it, those machines will be the same type of machines that we go into a new power plant that we're talking about, or a replacement of Kahi. Those are the more efficient, that's the high efficiency, hybrid car that can go much further on a gallon of gas. Today, that project has been approved as a biofuel project, which is great from an environmental standpoint. Is difficult because biofuel costs about twice as much as oil today. So from a cost to people, that's not necessarily a good outcome. From an environmental standpoint, it may be the lowest cost fuel or carbon fuel they can go forward, but it's going to be very, very expensive. I don't know what the long-term plan is for them there, but those type of machines they're putting in would very easily be able to burn gas if it were available. And I would anticipate if gas was available at a third of the cost as biofuel, there would probably be a strong push for them to consider that as a fuel.
Because that was mentioned. Chair, can I just bring up 2 things? Okay. All right. So thank you for making it clear and showing how we're getting the gas from the boats and et cetera. But I do have, in my research, I found out just recently that in your Freeport, Texas, I guess, facility, there was, I guess it went on fire. It caught on fire. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to read this because this came out of freeportlng.com. This is here. It says here, in June 2022, Freeport LNG had an incident where a release of LNG created a natural gas vapor cloud that ignited, causing a fire at the facility. There was no injuries. However, this led to investigation, repairs, and lengthy shutdown before operations resumed. Can you make a comment about that?
Yeah, no, glad you brought that up. So LNG, like any high density energy, whether it's oil or kerosene or diesel or propane, has inherent risks with it. LNG generally has had a very, very good track record in relation to other fuels. The Freeport incident was very, very unfortunate. It took place in Texas. We're actually a 20% owner of that facility. We don't operate it as JERA, but we buy a lot of the product that comes out of that facility. There was an operator error that the investigation found afterwards that should have never happened, but it did. That led to them closing off a section of pipe that should not have been allowed to be closed off. And what happens is when you have a super cold liquid like this that is compressed like that, when it's trapped in between two valves that aren't designed to be shut, it warms up and we did all make dry ice bombs as kids. It's that same kind of idea, right? That incident led to a big accident and a fire. Thank God nobody was hurt. I think there's been a lot of learnings about that. Now, we're fortunate that on the distribution side of LNG, so that's where LNG is produced. So those facilities look a lot more like very large petrochemical facilities. Hawaii won't be anywhere near that side of the process. They'll be on the receipt process. And in the last, I think, 50 years in Japan, we have never had an incident of any type on the receipt side of the process of that magnitude. And the track record for these FSRUs is very good. So I don't want to downplay that LNG is a lot of energy, just like bringing in a tanker of oil is, just like storing a can of gasoline is. But it is something that we take very seriously, and that's part of why the FERC process is so rigorous to go through to make sure that all of this is designed to prevent those types of incidents.
I have one more that I'd like to comment on. 2019 and 2021, again at Freeport LNG, there was air pollution violations related to emissions from flaring activities. And things were like carbon monoxide was shot in the air, nitrogen oxide, which caused the smog, and VOCs, which is volatile organic compound, which is harmful to our health, and then the ozones as well. So can I get a comment off of that?
Yeah, so I think those big facilities have what's called a relief flare. When they're in this production, there's a lot of processes going on. And if that's upset for some reason, for safety reasons, they will often burn off the gas that's in the system. And I'm not familiar with the specific incident, but it's not uncommon if that happens, that they have to look at their permit and say, hey, you burn more gas than you are permitted to do. And candidly, that's part of all fossil fuel production. The oil that's brought here today is produced in places where flaring is actually quite common as routine operation. It's something that the world is trying to grapple with, and I think is making strides on, but is also part of why we have to be on a continual journey of not just stopping at this point, but continuing to, get to a point where we can eliminate those emissions entirely.
I just want to make a comment to the group, because on their webpage, again, for HECO, it says these turbines are intended to support the electric grid as more solar and wind energy, and it did not mention LNG. I just wanted to bring it up to the group. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other board members have questions, comments, or concerns at this time? Now let's open it up to the community at large. Questions, comments, and concerns. Come on down.
Hi, Leticia Hernandez. Unlike, or just like, I did a little bit of research myself. How does this affect the marine life and the coral? Because if I recall, sometime last year out in Barber's Point. We allowed them to go and put those makeshift to revitalize our coral system out there, coral reef. Because in my research, it says that the bleaching and all of that does kill that, and along with the small planktons and so forth and so on. So if there's any consideration, because we do survive and thrive and live off of our ocean as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think, so to give you an idea of what will happen offshore, there'll be a vessel that's parked there. There'll be a mooring facility that's, or that's screwed into this, anchored into the seafloor, and a pipeline that runs onshore. In terms of like processing things that would happen that would impact the water there, the only thing that takes place on this side of the value chain will be the warming up of the gas. And there's two ways that can be done. So there's no chemicals used or no chemicals will be released into the ocean. But to warm up that gas, you either can burn some gas to create some heat and do that. And that's what they call a closed loop system. So it keeps, it doesn't touch the ocean at all, but it does touch the atmosphere. Or what they'll do is an open water system where they'll use seawater cooling to warm up the gas. I'm not a scientist of what the right way is to do that. I think that's something that through this process, they will study both of those and say, here are the trade-offs of each one of those processes, and ultimately be informed by the state on which way they like it. But just like the oil coming in today, there's no processing that will take place out there or anything that would ostensibly bleach or be released into the water.
Let's now go online for questions, comments, and concerns. And Committee Member Sherry?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity to ask some questions. And I do have a couple questions, but first I just wanted to alert the board that a report was just released that documents how the fossil fuel industry has perpetrated the deception that natural gas and LNG are a quote, clean climate solution and a bridge fuel. I'll put a link in the chat for this report. Not surprisingly, they use the same PR firms that help the tobacco industry undermine the science on tobacco's harms when creating this deception. And it's no coincidence that JERA chose to have a PR firm present tonight with presenting their case tonight. In my time allotted, I can't address all the misleading talking points that were presented tonight. Suffice it to say, they included many of the same greenwashing talking points the original PR team created, same playbook, and the whole thing about reusing the infrastructure when magically in 2045 we start with renewables. That is not true. It's a complex, costly transition. I could go on and on. I don't want to use up my time on the different points. But bottom line, the fossil fuel industry knew about the significant harms to our health and the climate and created this deception because all that mattered was to make a profit. And in addition, I want to point out that JERA went on public record opposing basic guardrails to protect ratepayers in Hawaii. During the last legislative session, they submitted testimony in opposition to a resolution, SCR 166, which would have offered common sense basic protections for ratepayers from fuel price volatility. To me, that really says it all. So my questions to JERA, if JERA intends to be a good neighbor in our community, why did they oppose a resolution that proposed common sense guardrails to protect ratepayers? And my second question is, JERA is a major investor of that Freeport LNG plant that was talked about a few minutes ago. Why did JERA refuse to meet with the community that lived nearby to discuss their concerns after that explosion of the plant that sent a fireball 450 feet into the sky? And this was just in 2022. And saying that that was just this anomaly is not true either, because at the plants in Japan, which are import facilities like Hawaii would be, there's been fires nearly every single year. And I don't have that, I can can share that documentation with you after the meeting. I don't have it with me on hand. But I do, in the chat, I will put a link to the report that I referred to. I will also put a link in the chat to an organization called Oil Field Witness. They do optical gas imaging, and they use the optical gas imaging to expose the massive amounts of toxic pollution spewing from LNG plants throughout the entire life cycle, and including at the plant, gases that you can't see with the naked eye, so they don't mention it. So I'll include these links in the chat, and you'll be able to see for yourself through the optical gas imaging the massive amounts of emissions, which includes cancer-causing benzene that come from these plants. So those are my two questions. Again, why did you oppose a resolution that was just basic common sense guardrails that our chair of the Environment and Protection Committee said were just basic common sense guardrails to protect ratepayers? And why would you refuse to speak to the community who was so upset? And there were injuries after that explosion. You refused to speak to community, and just this year, 2 years later,
Please
they had to
finalize
travel
your
to
statements,
Japan
please.
to try to speak to you. Sorry. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And I'll
We'll
put the links in
offer-
the chat.
Thank you. We'll offer Jara a chance to respond to the two questions. Go right ahead.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for the feedback. I think the first question was around our opposition of a proposed bill, which I think started as a bill to ban liquid natural gas. So our position on that, which I think was provided in the opposition, is that we believe that liquid natural gas should be considered as a fuel source here, and then prematurely banning it after it's gone through full regulatory process didn't seem like a prudent way of looking at the options. Your second question regarding, I think, around engagement with people who have been impacted by the Freeport incident. I apologize. I myself don't have the details on the situation you're talking about. As I mentioned earlier, JERA is not the operator of that facility, so it's generally customary for the operator of those facilities to manage the incidents and the engagement on anything that takes place there. But we certainly encourage you to visit our open houses and engage more, and we can provide some more information and potentially additional context. Thank you.
Okay, so just to clarify from the previous speaker, our community member was mentioning SCR number 166, which is a state Senate concurrent resolution requesting the Public Utility Commission to make certain judgments, considerations, and decisions when making any determinations relating to a generational energy commitment for the state, not the bill to ban LNG. So can we clarify why JERA submitted testimony in opposition to asking the PUC to do its due diligence regarding a generational commitment?
Yeah, no, thank you for the question and clarification. I think I don't recall off the top of my head the exact sequencing of the bills. I think it started as an LNG ban that may have been modified to, I think, certain conditions on it. I believe we, along with several other companies, were in opposition to the bill for putting structures around any LNG decisions before any framework had been decided or delivered. I think I don't have, again, the bill in front of me in our details, but happy to circle back up with all of that at the right time.
Appreciate that, and I think we will be super helpful to get feedback from JERA regarding your testimony in opposition, which everyone can find. It's publicly available, and come back and share with the board why. Because again, the thing that's striking me is that this is not a bill, it's a resolution asking the PUC to do a due diligence consideration for long-term generational energy infrastructure investment. Okay. But I'm okay with you coming back.
The rationale, and I don't have it again right in front of me, I suspect it was written out in our opposition there. And so that if there's any questions about that, I'm happy to dig it up and share it. But our position hasn't changed probably from the written testimony. I just don't have it right in front of me right now.
Okay. Next question coming from board member or question, comments, or concerns for Board Member McFerra. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm looking at this and 35.3 cents per kilowatt hour is like average 3 times the amount of anywhere in the US. And that is because we're using oil. And I was looking back because I did see that resolution and I was trying to find anything that the PUC had passed that is giving us common sense ratepayer protection from HECO. And there is none, and is why we're being charged whatever they want to charge. So why we're singling out Jairus and we have nothing in place for HECO is one thing that I think that kind of nullifies that argument. And then I've always learned and known that natural gas burns better than oil. I mean, that's just kind of common sense. We do bring in oil from offshore, and I have, since I was little, seen those little ships out there every day, sometimes two. And I've always thought about maybe there being an oil spill out there in our ocean and the damage that it would do to our environment with an oil tanker as opposed to natural gas that would, dissipate into the air. And what was pointed out already was that Texas had this incident, this mishap, and it was run by a different company. So they would be the ones in control of any kind of outreach to the community or any reports or anything that would be applicable. So I myself, I'm a nuclear guy. I'm thinking that, one nuclear plant could power all of our islands, but I don't think we're quite ready for that. But seeing that it's happening in Japan, I tend to think that Japan has their house in order. And with the exception of the old nuclear plant that Fukushima ended up doing a meltdown, I think that was kind of a situation with an earthquake that I don't think would have been avoidable in any case. But I'm looking for something that is better than what we have now. And I'm seeing this as something being a lot better than what we have now. So that's my opinion.
Okay, is there a specific question you want for Jara? Because right now we're in presentation mode.
Yep. No, I just wanted to see in particular some of the things that you had brought up regarding the operation and everything of it here, and how we may be able to modernize our power generating facilities as opposed to the Model Ts that we have running on the island. That's the one thing that I have noticed more than anything. So I'm open to hearing even more so about it because we haven't had anything prior to this.
Okay, Mahalo. Yeah, feel free to respond about the Jara's plan to help retrofit or update some of the current power generation facilities, particularly if you guys have targeted locations, because in your presentation, you didn't tell us which ones. I don't know if that's proprietary information or if you guys are currently having plans that you can release. That'll be super helpful.
Thank you again for the opportunity. So JERA is one of the largest natural gas generators in the world. And we have experience with all sorts of power plants, and in the last decade with very modern power plants. We also own a decent sized generator fleet on the mainland. We have a facility that powers 20% of New York City. That facility we've been blending with up to 40% hydrogen over the last couple of years as I think the leader in the world in terms of commercial hydrogen usage in a power plant. I'll put it as simply as I can, just like driving a car from the 60s and 70s. The standards and the technology that was available then, while they may run strong, they're not super efficient and they're not very high tech. And the power plants that are built today are amazing pieces of equipment that are designed in a world where we need flexibility, we need redundancy, and we need to be able to adapt to the changing energy mix. And we expect in Hawaii that changing energy mix to increase over time. And that is, I think, one of the key reasons why we think the power plants need upgrades, because without that, it's going to be very difficult to make the next jump in renewable energy.
Okay, so let's circle back again because it's still not clear to myself about, are you planning to retrofit particular locations? Are you building a new facility? Like, because you said that the EIS will be done by the end of year. So that means you already have to be scoping. You have to identify properties. You have to go through consultation with various different things. So like, we're in July. Like, did you guys identify the locations?
Yeah, so.
And can you share? Because if you can't, then just let us know.
Yeah, happy. I think two things, and what we had stated before, there's two concurrent projects ongoing here. And the one that we focused on here was the liquid natural gas site. We have also proposed JERA building a new modern power plant, a 500 megawatt hybrid power plant. That was part of our proposal that we made to the state. So we did not intentionally bring a lot of information about the power plant piece. The LNG side is a little further along in maturation. We've got the site, we've got the location. The power plant, we're still looking at locations. We think that likely Campbell Industrial Park is probably the right area for it, but we have not settled on all the details there. So happy to talk more about that, but it is a little bit earlier stage.
Got it. I think that's super helpful to recognize that you're talking about the LNG offshore mooring areas by Campbell Industrial Park for bringing LNG in, as opposed to a separate project, which would be a power plant that you guys are still working out whether or not you're retrofitting or building a new one. Okay, got it. Everybody clear? That was clear as mud before for me.
And then I think.
Thanks.
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
So that would come later. The application that he's talking about would be filed by the end of the year, correct, right?
We are still very much application development side. So environmental consultants are all starting and picking up, but the process of that is going to kick off at the end of the year, not be awarded.
So it was.
I think the question the board member asked was, when is the EIS going to be available, right? Because we understand you're in pre-application process. We saw the notices that's going down. So because that's the public's ability to engage and comment, right? So when is the notice for the EIS going to come out?
As you guys are aware, the EIS process is a process, right? So that the process will kick off at the end of the year where we initialize the formal permit. The EIS will be filed, and then the public comment and all the statutory periods will kick off at that point in time. After, moving through all of that is, the board of the EIS is subject to getting through all of those pieces, and will come later in the project.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, the EIS draft that's going to be introduced by the governmental agency with you will be sometime at the end of the year. And then the public comment period is going to open on the draft EIS. So does that not mean that you're already consulting with people and you're already going over the location? Is this just for the mooring or is this for the power plant?
Yes, let's just be clear, that timeline is for the LNG infrastructure.
Got it. Okay, so just for the mooring, got it. In Campbell Industrial, the location. Okay, got it. Okay, super helpful. Okay, now let's go to actually a community member online, and then we'll go to Dr. Amy Bosler after. Like, we have Dave Molinex online. Question, comments, concerns. Focusing on questions, please, for Gerald.
Hold on. You can hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, thank you so much. Dave Onyx with Greenpeace Hawaii. Keep me on track here on timing. I'm going to try to keep this concise. What JERA is intentionally not omitting from their presentation to you is the fact that fossil fuels are killing our environment, causing global warming and climate change, which is no longer something we have to be concerned about in our future. It's already here. We're experiencing it right here in Hawaii with our global warming caused Lahaina firestorm, the Kona Low flood, the houses on North Shore of Oahu falling into the ocean. This is just the beginning of the disasters Hawaii can look forward to global warming as it increases. And we'll be experiencing more intense hurricanes, longer droughts, greater floods, and increase in wildfires. Switching from oil to LNG is keeping us on fossil fuels, and it's impacting Hawaii's progress to switch to clean renewable energy. Liquefied natural gas should be more accurately called liquefied methane gas. This is important because methane is 80 times more destructive to the climate than oil, which your JERA person claimed it was actually cleaner. The O'Hare report has shown that if we focus building out our clean renewable energy like solar, wind, and ocean power and battery storage, we'll reach 85% of our clean energy goals. This would leave only 15% of our energy needs that would have to be so-called firm energy. There are thousands of rooftops and parking lots that still don't have solar panels covering them. The JERA proposal is flipping the script and first focusing on LNG, a climate-killing fossil fuel, as Oahu's main source of energy, taking time, resources, and funding away from building out our clean renewable infrastructure. If we took the $2 billion JERA will be taking from Hawaii consumers for their LNG facility and invested in building out our clean renewable energy, we'd be a lot closer to our goal of having cheap, clean, renewable energy in Hawaii. One of the problems is that year after year, our Hawaii State Legislature kills bills that would increase the number of solar panels on rooftops and parking lots. So all consumers should be lobbying our legislators to pass these important bills to increase the number of solar panels on our rooftops and parking lots. JERA says they'll be saving money by switching to LNG. This is not accurate because the price of LNG is just as volatile as oil, as we've seen from the Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz and causing an increase in the cost of LNG internationally. JERA claims LNG will be a bridge fuel, and they'll maybe later on switch to hydrogen or some other fuel in the future, but you can't use the same infrastructure for hydrogen that you're using for LNG, so there'll be further costs to replace the $2 billion infrastructure. We need to be focusing on increasing and build out of renewable energy, not switching to another climate-killing fossil fuels. Finally, please do not take JERA's dog and pony show as gospel. This is not, there's a lot of research and reports on the dangers of LNG, so please do not jump on a gun and support this project. Please do more research and find out for yourselves. I think Sherry Pollack put some links into the chat. So that's my comment, and I don't really have any questions for Jared because I already know what
Please
they're going to
finalize
say.
your statement.
That's it. Thank you so much
Okay.
for your attention.
Okay. Mahalo nui loa for the commentary. Next, let's go to Dr. Amy Bosler,
Thank you.
focusing on questions if possible so they can respond.
Yes, thank you. Okay, one comment though, I am also very interested in the environmental impact study. And you had mentioned that the kickoff for the program would be around 2030. Is that, yes, 2030, 31? It's very concerning to me that an impact study is not even happening yet, and you only have 3 to 4 years for it to be implemented and be, as you said, bringing the fuel onto our shores. So that raises some concerns about quality of the study. That's my only comment. But my questions were, as our state is trying to become 100% renewable by 2045, I'm wondering how this is going to be helping our process to becoming 100% renewable when this is still a fossil fuel. So how is this helping us towards our goal? Is one question. And then I'm wondering if you have any information on the actual cost savings, because you're saying that we're going to be saving on our electricity bills, but we're going to be paying a lot of money to bring all of this into us, or the LNG, or liquid nitrogen gas on shore. So I'm wondering if you have more information about, shipping costs. How much is it going to be to ship it? Because it seems like these estimates might be based on the continent and not necessarily for us. And I'll reserve the rest of my questions are mostly about concerning the environmental impacts, which we'll hear from again in the future.
Right ahead.
So wonderful questions, I think, quite important for all this. The first question about how does this help us move towards the 2045 goals is a very good question. I think if you look back 10 years ago, there was a big push to try and do LNG then. And there was a statement made that I think became part of it is any time and energy spent on LNG is not time and energy spent on renewables. And that decision stopped any LNG development. And the result of that was that we continued to burn oil here for that decade. That oil put a lot more carbon into the air. It cost the people a lot more money. had they made the transition to gas. And so I think when you talk about a transition in the pathway, there's a lot of that sentiment that is, hey, gas is going to take us away from our renewable objectives. And we feel pretty strongly it's quite the opposite. Without investing in upgrading this infrastructure, having a business case to do that, it becomes very, very difficult then in the future to pile on maybe more expensive fuels that aren't ready yet. And so it's a little bit of waiting till the end. Now, I think we want to be clear with everyone is that in no way do we think or do we believe that any transition from oil to gas should impact the push for deeper renewable penetration. We don't think it's going to be possible unless there's an upgrade to the power plants. We have empirical evidence on that in Japan in terms of how we've operated there. And I think we've seen in lots of places around the world that gas has been the natural choice and complement for deep renewable penetration. We've seen recently that New Zealand is now looking to import LNG as a very high renewable country because it's the most economic way for them to keep their grid balanced at the time. The second question there became around the cost side. And I think the cost side is probably the one that means the most, pretty much most ordinary people in terms of like, if you rent a condo and you have to pay electric bill and you certainly want to do the right thing, but you can't afford to pay your bills, that's something that hits you every single month. Gas demonstrably has demonstrated that it's cheaper than oil. There are a lot of complex pricing structures between both gas and oil that I won't get into here. But we've taken all that information, made sure that we've localized it to Hawaii, what the cost of gas would be here versus places in the mainland, what the cost of infrastructure would be here versus the mainland. And through that analysis and I think detailed modeling, we view that there's an opportunity to save around 20% on generation when compared against oil. We think that savings opportunity compared to current biofuel prices is about 50%. Those details, or a lot of those details, are in the proposal we made to the state. So we encourage you to have a look at that. Happy to dig into that more at the open house or as well.
Mr. Chair.
Can you send the chair a copy of that proposal so we could see it, please? Oh, perfect. And I would argue with you that I would prefer to pay a little bit more on my electricity to make sure that my baby is healthy and not getting cancer. So, thank you.
So before I go to Dr. Dudley, it'll be super helpful if JARA provided us all of the documentation that you're sharing with the federal government, the state government, and county government for us to review so that we can be as best informed on JARA's positions so that we can ask more intelligible questions and not waste community time going over the basics that I think most of the people in the room already understand, but we want to get to the more technical issues. And I want to highlight that we already have a position of conditional opposition to LNG in the state and specifically for Campbell Industrial Park. We had those discussions given the data that we had available at the time in Resolution 2026-3-1. So it would behoove JARA to actually address the concerns in our Resolution 2026-3-1. Otherwise, our position of opposition will likely stay. So helping you to be a good neighbor, we've already outlined issues that we want addressed. That will be super helpful to hear in future time. So at this time, I formally invite you guys to come back after providing us with the information that we requested and addressing the concerns to the point of that you can from the resolution and then the questions raised tonight. Now, let's go to Dr. Dudley.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to say that it's 9:30. We only have a half hour. We have an awful lot of things going here. And if people could just please keep your comments very, very short, it would be greatly appreciated.
So recognizing the request from Dr. Dudley, if everyone could keep your questions or comments as concise as possible, recognizing at least for the neighborhood board, as maybe people that are new to us don't really know that we've been tracking the LNG issue. We already have a position of opposition and we have a lot of questions that we want to have answered. But I think we are open to hearing more from JARA itself about how it's going to improve stuff. Now, let's go to anyone else online. Okay, any other questions, comments, or concerns from fellow community members? Welcoming up community member Wayne Tanaka. Go right ahead.
Chairperson, members of the board, Wayne Tanaka, Circle Employee. I just want to add some thoughts and context. And first of all, absolutely agree. We need to get off what we can see residual oil that's left over from the airline industry. That's why burning oil, all the leftovers from crude into jet. That's right. Once you get away from that, you get away from any dependency on the fossil fuel. That's really going to tie us to external conditions and volatilities that we have control over. Sorry. Yeah, and we also absolutely need to upgrade our power plants or oil plants, right? But I think it's important to keep in mind that LNG route is not the route, and so the Hawaii Natural Energy Institute, which is a third party, they're not going to make money from LNG anything. So they actually analyze all these different scenarios. Two scenarios they compared, one with LNG and one with combustion turbines, right? So if we go just upgrade oil plants versus upgrade oil plants plus like LNG. And ultimately the takeaway was we're either going to save about $8 a month for a house that burns about 700 kilowatt hours per month, or it'll cost about $5 more per month if we go that LNG route. And so really the question becomes, since the differences are so small, what are the other trade-offs, right? What are the safety issues, environmental health issues, the climate issues, right? And that's exactly, I think, what you folks identified in the resolution you adopted. So very grateful that you, that you went through that in the process. I do want to highlight, though, something to think about is the economics of LNG involve what's called the gasification tariffs. So for this all to work out, for it to be as cheap as it's going to be, you need to buy and burn about 0.7 to 1.1 million tons per year of LNG. And that means, with oil, if we build more solar, we can use less oil, right? And with cheaper, reliable solar, we got more of that green off oil. But LNG, if we build more solar, more renewable, and LNG costs will stay the same. So that's what's called lock-in effect. That's one of the concerns that we've been tracking in terms of the economic side. But I have to say, I think you guys are on the right track. I did have some questions that I thought would be worth asking. So one, is JIRA planning, as it says in the strategic partnering agreement with the state, to sell LNG to other Pacific nations and as acting as a subject matter expert? Two, is JIRA willing to commit to eat the cost of any cost overruns or supply chain delays or disruptions or those things that could make this what seems like money saving thing become cost increasing thing? Three, the EIS law that we have, it requires you to look at all of the impacts of the entire, if you're going to build an offshore facility, you got to also look at what that facility is for, which means the on land stuff. There's no sense you look at just what's on the ocean, but then by there on, you build that and then like everything on land is unacceptable, right? So you really got to look at the whole scope of what's being involved. So is you're going to do that? And then finally, what happens to our oil that we refine, that stuff over from refining to feed our jet fuel, our airline industry, right? Like we're still gonna have this residual fuel oil. So if we're not burning that for LNG, where is that oil? Those are the third questions. Thank you.
Thank you, community member Wayne Tanaka. And if Jara has responses tonight, great. And if not, we invite you to make note of those and then come back and talk story with us, because we realize this is an ongoing conversation, right? And you might not be the person that's best equipped to answer.
Happy to dive into all this, but cognizant of the time here, don't want to take it all. So I think these are really great questions and good points that we should engage on further. I'm happy to go into it, but I recognize you guys are trying to go medium long, so we can take it and engage in a separate form.
Okay, I think that would be great. We invitation with these questions and others. So at this time, the chair would ask that if there are any other outstanding questions that we would like Jara to field at a future meeting, please make them known at this time. Anybody online? Anybody in person? Okay, so hearing no one else, the only questions I have left currently is if you could speak to the financing, government subsidies, credits, whether or not you are competing with HECO, whether or not you're cooperating with HECO. And if you have a plan for who's going to purchase the LNG, as the prior commenter made, like, it don't make sense if you build the infrastructure and there's no place for use them. If you're not providing it to an LNG facility, it's like for power plant energy generation, where is it going, right? Like, that would be super helpful for us to hear what your plans are, recognizing there's proprietary information and you guys are in an open market economy. Whatever you can provide, that'll be greatly appreciated. Any final comments, questions, or concerns? Okay, let's go with the final comments from Board Member Kara England.
This is just for the record. The board has mentioned that the board's decision really about this is still an opposition for the three reasons. One is the safety, the other was the long-term cost impact on Hawaii ratepayers, and that it's still fossil fuel. For the record, if this project is approved, I believe a generous community benefits package must be negotiated to ensure Kapolei residents receive meaningful investments, protections, and support. And I'm putting this on the record for future discussions.
Mahalo. So recognizing that the community we have disproportionate impact because of all of the industrial zoning in our area. And we are wise up to the fact that no matter what Honolulu or the state negotiates with you, we're the ones that's going to get the brunt of it. So we would like, if this goes forward, for JERA to enter into conversations similar with Amazon over a community benefits agreement so that the community will have contractual assurances, because we've been burned in the past. People would make all kinds of promises and they don't follow through, and our regulators don't follow through, or in some cases, our regulators actually let the developer off the hook, Makakilo completion. That was a regulator decision. And we're asking the regulators to fix their problem. So it wasn't the private entity. They got off the hook. So we would really appreciate that JERA consider entering into good faith negotiations with community organizations over a CBA.
Thank you. We welcome the opportunity to engage with you.
Mahalo nui loa for you guys' presentation, for coming out. And now let's get to the next business on the docket, which is public input. Community members, any questions, comments, or concerns that you have generally, now is the time to shine. Come on up. Please line up for the sake of time. And we'll get going. Come on, Leslie Keating or Auntie Spale, Breckwood. I see you guys coming up. Let's go. Floor is yours.
My name is Spare Breckwood. Been in hurricane protection since 2006. I lived in Makakilo since '82. No, we're going to have the worst hurricane season this year. Then the NOAA says the worst one before was 2015. My personal opinion is Oahu's getting struck this year. I would not be surprised if more than just Oahu gets struck this year. We could have two actually hitting somewhere in Oahu. What I just handed up to the board members, and I congratulate the board members because they are much more knowledgeable about hurricanes and hurricane protection than any other board on this island. They have tried very hard for several years to learn as much as possible. All of you have two opportunities this week, next week coming up, to ask any hurricane-related questions to, first of all, the number 2 person in DPM, County of Honolulu's Department of Emergency Management will be appearing, Jennifer Walter, Saturday morning between 9 and 10 o'clock at Senator Gabbard's talk story at the Kapolei High School Teachers Lounge, which is between the cafeteria and right in the parking lot. So that's a golden opportunity to tell her your concerns about what has not been done that should have been done by both the state
as well as the county in terms of protecting our lives. The biggest other thing that's coming up, I just sent my questions, and any of you can stand here, email questions. I did it to the governor this past Tuesday night for the interviews that he had with the TV station, HNN, Hawaii News Now. That's on Tuesday. It's actually at 12:30. It appears twice, 12:30 in the afternoon, and then 7 o'clock that evening. Next Tuesday coming up is Mayor Blanchardie. So you've got 2 opportunities that are golden. It's probably the last time you'll have the opportunity to really ask your hard questions. The first and most important should be that the trained experts on hurricanes at HIEMA, which have the most responsible preparedness responsibilities for the entire state on all types of disasters. They came out with the 2025 Integrated Preparedness Plan, and it states that there are 1,500,000 people in Hawaii living in our unsafe homes. And guess what? They should evacuate to save their lives. Most of them have no clue how poorly constructed their homes are. So they won't evacuate. I originally thought long ago that maybe we'd have 3,000 deaths. I think now we're going to have many more than that. It's really sad. What's going to happen if we get a directive to the private? It's like, what can we do now? The concrete buildings are our only source of being able to survive if we get hit by a Cat 3 hurricane. And I think it's just a question of time. Senator Gabbard sponsored for me couple of years in a row, a bill that would have given us the right, all of us who live in the unsafe wood homes, to go to a safe, concrete, public accommodation building, i.e. hotels, etc., for the very short time, 6 to 12 hours that it takes for a hurricane to pass over here. Sadly, of course, in our legislature, most of the bills don't become law. And then the NOAA senator killed that particular bill. So we have to beg, borrow, steal, hope. If you have relatives or friends who live in a safe concrete building, go there. If you have an employer who's smart enough, and apparently most of them aren't, smart enough to allow you and your family to go to that safe concrete building, do that. Think about saving your own life. Don't plan on the government to do it for you. Thank you.
Okay, mahalo, and right under the wire. Really appreciate that for the comments. The chair would like to note that the board has taken positions on disaster preparedness, most recently in 2024, where we championed and advocating for different things in order for homeowners to get prepared, including a income tax credit of up to $20,000 for homeowners to retrofit their residences with wind-resistant features, because we all know in our community that there is no place that can survive a Cat 3 or above evacuation center. Like, there are places to evacuate, but they are not sufficiently open to the public and able to withstand that level of hurricane. And given the super El Nino that's projected and the current ramping up of hurricanes and tropical storms in our region, it is something to be keenly aware of as we move into this year's hurricane season. Okay, next community member, go right ahead.
My name is Leslie Keating, and I'm a resident. I just wanted to mention that the crossing at Manawai and Kapolei Parkway does not yet have a right turn only. And as we know from Kama'aha and Punahou, that turning left onto that street is an accident always waiting to happen. And I live on Kama'aha and Kapolei, and so I've witnessed many I don't hear them so much anymore because I do not live now near this, but I did just witness another accident a few days ago. And I know it's not as big as the hurricanes, but it does cause great pain and suffering. And there's children, and it's a very busy area right now. So if the Department of Transportation hears this, I would like a right-hand turn over.
Mahalo, we got that. Any other community members have questions, comments, or concerns? Please come up.
Jack and John, I sent this a little late to the board, but I sent some of my concerns about where we have the Aloha sign, where you go with, it says Aloha on the entrance to the sharp turn that we have going on the freeway west. And as you go up that way, it's kind of shows, it's kind of a safety issue because it slows the people up. The whole purpose of Aloha, I did the research on that too, was to remind people, don't walk with your phones when you cross. Try to slow the people up so you don't run over people crossing or walking or doing their bicycle or whatever, trying to get on the freeway. And it has a lot of, it avoids distractions. It has to support the local programs that brings it up to everybody. I was wondering why the clarified drive with Aloha sign was removed from the entrance because it has I noticed that candidates placing these signs on the west side of the island. I seen them when I'm going through Waipahu. I seen them when I've gone through Eva Beach. I seen them where it used to be on the school and some other places. But this should not, but the property that's owned there, and I know the facts because I was on the board there, was where it has a monument that belongs to our association, but the fence belongs to the property of the owner there. And he gave permission, this has been going on for years, that they had permission to put up signs. I saw there's a church sign, but a safety thing is the most important things because people speed so fast. And that sign was kind of a nice safety thing because when you saw the sign, you slowed up a little bit and it could prevent accidents that should never happen. And I hope that we could present this because I don't think a law enforcement or anybody else except the property owners gives permission is the way it's always been done in the past for over 40 some years. And I'm hoping that we can look at that to have more positive things. I don't think it's anything bad, but I think if we put more positive things up to catch the people's attention, you don't have road rage. And maybe they might slow down and have a little courtesy and say, that's okay, walk across. How much longer are you gonna take? Hurry up. But I think we need to look at how can we keep the positive, and thank you.
Mahalo. Now let's welcome any of our elected officials that are in the House to provide any updates for us during this public input section.
Good evening, Chair and board members. My name is Kika Tafeni, and I'm with Councilmember Andrew Tupola's office. And here with me, we have our new staff member, Stephanie Nojima. So she has just recently joined our team. Today is actually her third day, I believe. So you'll probably see her more often, both of us, and we're her community team. So if you ever have to get a hold of any of us, please call us directly if you can't get a hold of a council member. I know that we gave the board something from DEM about the new emergency access road up in Makakilo area. That was just something we asked DEM to give us for printing. So we don't have much detail on it, but if you do have questions, we can take that back to council member. She'll be the best person to ask. Other than that, we do have our new houseless program R3, Restore, Reconnect, Revive. It's been really, really active in Kapolei. To the Top Hawaii has helped us huge there, and also Mana Church. They've been helping us as well, and I know some of our board members here have really helped us as well. We've had recently 50 new people come in and had never come to our program, but they're coming, and we're hoping that we can kind of just help them out in whatever way we can. Honu is here, as you guys see here. We are trying to utilize that as well, but I think everyone has their comments about Honu. But it is starting back up on August 10th till November 25th. So it'll be about 15 to 16 weeks program again, and then it'll be back at the Kapolei Hawaii State Library. And then that, will be 5 to 6 every Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay, mahalo, and let's go for questions from Vice Chair and then Mick.
Just really quickly, could you let council member about the sign from a community member Leslie on the Manawai, if she could.
And then
Mahalo.
if we could actually get, I'll talk to her.
Okay, awesome. Was that Member Mick? And then, okay, Dr. Dudley. Okay, Member Mick.
Yeah, hi there. We just recently passed a resolution about getting motorcycle enclosures moved over from Middle Street over to Ho'opili and also the UH. And I was wondering when the city council might be hearing that.
We will get back to you on that. I don't think they have it on the agenda or anything. I think it has to go through committee as well.
Okay, so if we can get a update on that. Okay, and also, since the emergency access road is considered done, what is the city council doing for moving the Makakilo Drive completion forward? Because I know that's the first one, and obviously they're going to work on the second one, we know, right?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's something talking on behalf of Councilmember Tupola, I think it's
Yeah.
something she's been trying to talk to MD and the mayor. That's kind of at their level, but for city council, it's also something I can talk to her about.
Yeah. Yeah, right now we're trying to get the copy of the environmental report. Maybe that she could facilitate that for us because that was promised. I think you were at that meeting too.
Yes, we were.
Yeah.
Several.
Yes.
Mahalo. Now let's go to Melody June for Senator Gabbard online.
Hi there, aloha board and community members. I actually didn't have a question for Councilmember Tupola. I was only raising my hand to speak for Senator Gabbard, so I apologize for jumping on too soon.
Okay, so let's now go to Representative Kanani Souza online.
Aloha, Chair Paris, and everyone in attendance. I'll have a more robust, basically rundown of what we're doing at the next board meeting. However, I just wanted to specifically address Jackie Zahn's concern about the Drive with Aloha banners. She's specifically talking about the Drive with Aloha banner that I had along Makakilo Drive and at all of our schools that I coordinated with the DOE schools to put them up. And it was such a positive thing for our community. So many people have reached out to me, thanking me for basically reminding them to drive safe, for pedestrian safety, for the safety of our keiki. Unfortunately, one of the neighborhood board members, Sheila Maderis, basically ended that and went to HPD, filed a complaint, has since gone to the Attorney General, I believe also went to the Ethics Commission. So not only myself, but all of my colleagues have had to remove this Drive with Aloha banner. So, and I do believe that some of this was stated in a press release saying that she's a neighborhood board member. So I just think it's really unfortunate that we've had to deal with this. And it was meant for positive messaging. So I'm not sure what the issue is, but it's something that I'm continuing to address with the proper authorities because no one should have to, especially as a sitting state representative, we're trying to communicate positive messaging to our constituents. So I'm not sure what the problem was, but hopefully this will be resolved very soon. Mahalo.
Mahalo for the update. Any Dr. Lee? Yes.
I had a question for them.
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay. Okay, so happy to be able to come right back. Could you please ask a councilwoman Tupolo if she would come to our next meeting and talk to us about safe rooms? The city council took the safe rooms out of the state requirement for houses for this island. Can we get them back? Can she come? Can she tell us what can be done? Okay, thank you very much.
Now going to Board Member Sheila Maderis. Go right ahead.
Yes, hi, thank you. Thank you, Representative Kanani Souza, for your update. So, to address the Drive with Aloha sign. So here's the situation. It's not the sign itself. Drive Aloha is fine. Having the sign there is fine. But what the House Clerk and the AG's office said, it's problematic when there is a state seal that is on the sign, because the state seal is only used for specific purposes, not for Drive with Aloha, holiday signs, graduation signs. So the House Clerk did push out a memo saying that you cannot use your face, your position, to advance yourself, because that's not the purpose, because it doesn't advance the message of Drive with Aloha. Now, she could have just put a Drive with Aloha sign without her face, her title, and the state seal, because using the state seal is actually illegal. It's a misdemeanor. She knows this. She's an attorney. So that's the problem. And the House Clerk pushed out a memo to all of the House of Representatives because it is unethical. And she knows
Okay.
this.
Okay.
So, thank you very much.
Okay. Makana, I'm gonna have to respond to that.
So hold for just 1 second.
Sure.
I recognize that this is a conversation that will need, I think would warrant more time for the discussion. So it'd be super helpful to get the information that member Gila Medeiros received from the Attorney General and the House Clerk so that we can verify. And I will allow Representative Kanani Souza the chance to respond because she was mentioned. So
Yes.
please go ahead, Representative.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, everything that was just said is false information. I have spoken to the Attorney General myself. I have spoken to the House Clerk. As a sitting state representative, I utilize the state seal. I use it for business cards. I use it to send out mailers. Somehow Sheila Medeiros has started this sort of propaganda that I am not able to use the state seal. She is completely misinformed. And this is the problem that we keep having, is I have to keep addressing falsities, false narratives, lies, and propaganda that's being pushed into our community, and having to address it has become exhausting. That's false information. That's not what happened. There is no memo from the House Clerk. The Attorney General did not say any of this. So please provide all of your information. I would love to see a letter or some correspondence from the Attorney General telling you all of these things that you're claiming. This is not true. That particular law is not based off of a sitting representative. That has to do with commercial enterprises. And the way that it's handled is that the Attorney General usually and historically provides cease and desist letters to commercial enterprises. I don't think anyone in the history of this law, since this law was in effect since 1967 when it was passed by the legislature, has ever been cited or charged under this law. So I'm not sure what kind of criminal sanctions you would like me to have. I know that you've been trying to prosecute me for several months
If you
now
could
with 2 different banner
finalize your
incidents.
comments,
But
please,
anyway, McKenna,
Representative.
thank you. I'm just asking to please get your facts straight, because it's causing problems. It's causing problems in our community. Our constituents are not happy. My constituents are not happy. So if we could really stop the propaganda and stop the spreading of lies and false information, I would really appreciate that. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Now, the chair will use his prerogative to allow the representative of Senator Gabbard to have the final public input for the night, and then we will defer all other business to the next agenda. So we will welcome Melanie June to share her mana'o on behalf of Senator Gabbard.
Thank you so much, Chair Paris. I just have a real quick update for everybody. I know we were already discussing the interim emergency access route, but this Saturday at Kapolei High School Teachers Lounge, Senator Gabbard will have his monthly Listen Story meeting from 9 to 10 a.m. And this month's topic will focus on the interim emergency access route and also the long-term vision for the Makakilo Drive extension. Our guest speakers will be Jennifer Walter, She's from the Department of Emergency Management, and also will be joined by Councilwoman Andrea Tupola, who will provide additional updates on the Makakilo Drive completion. And a Zoom option is also available. You can just email our office to RSVP. And as always, please feel free to contact our office if we can help in any way. Thank you, guys.
Mahalo. Now, one last call for community members, recognizing you all stayed here to the end. If you wish to testify on anything on the agenda, now is your time to shine because we want to honor your time. Otherwise, knowing that we'll be having everything on the agenda on the next agenda that we didn't handle this evening. Only for community members, going once, going twice, going 3 times. Okay, so with that, mahalo nui loa for this gangbuster organizational meeting, and I call the meeting adjourned. Aloha. Have a wonderful